Academy number 6. So here we go. All right. Well, welcome Great Plains Leadership Academy number 6. And I am fired up for this event. We've got an action-packed agenda. I love this time of year. It is one of my favorite times of year because we've got lots of holiday sales happening. People are buying a lot of Cutco right now. But more importantly, we create the market. And this is the time where we are in a recruiting push as offices and managers. We just had a DM staff day and retreat recently about, a week ago and a little over a week ago. And when we sat down, we talked about what it would look like if we went after a massive January. And we've got many offices that are committed in doing that. I just got off of a band call. We've got multiple division offices right now nationwide that are signing 30 and 40 people a week. Many of them are competing to get to 100, 150. I even heard Kyle Preman talk about 250 set for training for his big dance right after the holiday. And that definitely fires me up. But here in Great Plains Division, we've got 4 active offices. And I'm really excited about that. The pilot's going after 55 launch for the month of January. We've got Norman going after 40, including South and North Tulsa going after 40. And based on our projections of our current team and everybody else that we want to get on board, we're looking at the potential of every office thinking in terms of 100,000 sold. And I love in a business like ours that $100,000 in a month means anywhere between a $15,000 to $20,000 profit for a manager. And that's pretty awesome. So if you've never thought about might want to. I know I've talked about it before, but in my first 8 months of running my own district office, I earned over 6 figures. I never thought I'd earn 6 figures ever in my first couple of years out of college, and I earned it in my first 8 months, which was pretty impressive. And I think about what happens when we add a total of over, 150 people to our team in the matter of the first 5 weeks of the year. I think about what happens to our development, our culture. I think about what happens when we go to year-end banquet with multiple people being there. And I also think about what happens when we get to the point where we are in a position and we've got really, really good, I don't know why this is not pinning. I'm going to pin my video. I wasn't on mute there. And when we've got really, really good systems and programs, we've got tons of event attendance, right? And we're taking it to a whole nother level. So I'm fired up about that. I hope that you are. It's an exciting time of year to be in the business. And right now, the number one mission is that every office is booking 10 growth recruits, which includes PRs, social media, or campus. And if you're not plugged into that system, talk to your manager, figure it out. And it's going to be fun to see who can get the most set for training. We've got a fun contest that'll be happening too between our district offices and the pilot on who can sell more for the month of January. So it is the pilot versus the rest of the division, right? So a little bit lopsided there when it comes to the competition as far as number of offices, but I think it's going to be a really fun competition to see who can really pull out the W for the month. So looking forward to that contest, no doubt. We've got an action-packed agenda, and I want to review a few things before we dive in. The first thing I want to review is our 5 strategic anchors, and I'd like you to write these down in your notes. I did an extensive review of this today on our DM staff meeting, and I just really want to make sure that you guys understand that this is not something that's just a thought or an idea. It's not something that you should just be interested in. It's something that I need you committed to. And if we really have visions of taking this year, which will finish at about $2 million to $3 million next year, that means that we're looking to grow by literally 50% in 1 year. $1 million in sales growth is not just going to happen. We're not just going to fall into it. You might get lucky to fall into a couple 100,000 in growth, but never $1 million. And if we want $1 million in growth, we need to make sure that we build that around our culture and our brand, especially our identity. So if you don't know what these are, then that's a great review. If you do know what they are, my challenge to you is ask yourself, are you interested in these or are you committed to them? And how are you taking these 5 concepts and applying them and implementing them into your daily life, right? So number 1 that you can jot down is commitment to growth. I love this division. I love this company. I love what we're building. And I love the challenges just as much. And I'll tell you that sometimes the times that I've grown the most are the times that I've had the biggest challenges. In fact, my biggest growth opportunities were the times that I was the most off on my goals. It was the times that I was most frustrated, that I felt like I was the most down and out, right? That quote that you've heard, when you're about to break down, you're actually about to break through. I think about commitment to growth. And the growth doesn't just happen naturally. You have to commit to it. So my challenge to you is to think about that slogan every morning and think about, what am I going to do today to commit to growth? Not just in the business, but outside the business. How are you growing as a student? How are you growing as a sibling? How are you growing as a brother or sister? Or how are you growing as a daughter or a son, right? For those of you with kids or spouses, right? How are you growing? And what are you doing to commit to growing? because typically the easy road leads you to a place of disappointment and regret. Growth is hard, growth is challenging, and growth is uncommon. Growth is not average. So choose growth. Number 2, people first mentality. What are you doing to put people first? What are you doing to always make sure that you're serving, that you're showing up for others, that you're putting their needs and best interests before your own? And that's difficult to do because as human beings, right, we're kind of wired to be a little bit selfish, to be a little bit greedy, to want to get what we want, right, rather than help other people get what they want. But we know that the secret to success is when you help enough other people get what they want, you too will get what you want in return. So people first mentality. I would even say you could change the word people to team first mentality. Team first mentality, meaning that you're putting your team first and making sure that they're the wins, right? That they are the people that you care the most about. And when you care, right, about your people, they will care about you. You got to put them first. Number 3 is pursuing best practices. I love this business because we never settle. We never rest. We never take something and build it and say, well, that's the best it's ever going to be. You know, what I love about Drew is that he's constantly positively questioning everything in the business and asking, how can this get better? And how can this get more simple? It's amazing in a business like ours, how the more simple you keep things, the more effective they become. And I think that so many times we are guilty for overcomplicating and overthinking. And that's not in the business, that's also in life, right? So I'll tell you this, that if you keep things in your strategy simple, they're way more effective. So pursue the best practices. Don't just ask yourself, hey, how do I do this? Ask yourself, how do I get great at doing this? Or how do I make this even better, right? You know, when I grew up in the business, we didn't have the virtual demo program or the video interview or the video training or any of that stuff, right? We had to pay employees. We had to learn how to hire, recruit, and train receptionists, how to do payroll and W-2s. Every single year, running an office gets more simple and more simple. So if I'm you right now, even if you haven't considered running one, it's not too late. It doesn't take us 8 months to train on everything anymore. And when I went through Leadership Academy, I had to drive from Albuquerque up to Denver, and I had to do 8-hour meetings one time a month. They weren't this short, and they weren't recorded. And I had to be in person. Otherwise, I lost my spot. You really don't know how good you have it, right, compared to what we went through. So here's the deal. What are you doing to pursue best practices? I'd even challenge you to say, what are you doing to watch other people? What are you doing to go and learn from them? What are you going to do and visit offices, not just in our division, but outside our division? I know next week, Carissa Blevins is going down to Houston, and she's going to be cross-training with one of the managers down there. It's very successful, watching him, learning him, learning from him, and asking really good questions. Cool. Number 4 is to show up as your best. I really want to challenge you to think about that. Showing up is most of success. But how do you show up? Do you show up as your best every day? Do you show up as your best when it comes to how you look, how you dress, how you think, how you talk, your mentality, right? How many times have you heard me say mindset over skill set? And really, when it comes to success, it's your mindset. So where are you at with your mental capacity right now? And where are you at with showing up as your best? Because I'll tell you this, that when you start showing up more as your best in one area of your life, it automatically compounds and transforms into other areas as well. And the last and number 5.1 is doing the right thing. I love the slogan, do what's right, not what's easy. I have a sign that I made all the way back when I ran my branch office in 2007, and it still hangs above our door here. I really want to challenge you to think about what is the right thing to do versus the easy thing. And people who just do what they feel don't do very much. Things that are worth it are rarely easy, and things that are easy are rarely worth it. So I want you to challenge yourself, right, to do the right thing more often as you go through with what you're going to be doing. I think about what's going to build us to $3 million next year, and the first thing that comes to mind is leadership through the pilot. We have to get this office over $2 million a year, not because of what it does at $2 million, not because it breaks all our records, but just because as goes the pilot, as goes the division. Every year the division offices or the pilot office has grown, the division has grown. This is the first year that the division office won't grow, and the pilot won't grow, neither will the division. So my challenge to us is, how do we get the pilot back on track? And the number one way, 200K January. We knock that out, and we will set ourselves up for 11 months of breakthrough and great success. Number 2 is our 3-pillar managers. That includes Bailey and Melissa and Carissa. And I want to talk about how they are going to become mega pillars and mega district managers, putting out multiple offices every year. I had the pleasure of meeting with a guy named Ryan Suppley today, who's one of the upcoming mega district managers and possibly DVMs out in the Northeast. Right now, he's already got 36 set for training for the big dance. And Ryan has a total of 15 candidates this year. His plan is to launch 2 district managers, 6 branch managers, and already have a staff of 6 that are well-trained and prepared to help him with his office for the summer. That's big thinking. By the way, this guy is a district manager, not a division manager. So think about that, right? Putting out 8 of your own offices year after year. And I have firm belief that Bailey, Melissa, and Carissa can make those things happen running their locations. The next thing that's going to help us out is putting out a great dominating branch class. I think about having 10 managers that are knocking out an average of 50K. And when I think about that list right now, we've got a total of 10. Brandon Cobb being promoted to the division office manager, which is very exciting and has the potential, if he does things right, to open up and launch into a district career starting in May if he chooses it. We've got Claire Beckman going branch with the interest of possibly staying open as a district. We've got Adam Goff going branch manager, already written his letter of intent. We have Daniel Shawan, and Daniel's in a position where he just wrote his letter of intent yesterday and will be committing to going branch manager. We have Kinsey Borelli. I know she's going through a tough time right now, but has a very good commitment to going open and opening a branch as well. We have Clay Strand, who's with us right now. Thank you, Clay, for making the time. We appreciate it. We have Quentin Scott going to OSU, but opening his own office. And then, of course, we have Dustin. We also have Maddie. We also have Olivia. And we also have Ayame. And I know for some of you haven't written the letter of intent. It's not too late yet. But if you haven't made that commitment, what's the alternative? What else could help you grow personally, professionally, and financially as much as a business like ours could, and putting you in a position that you can really succeed? I know, sorry, Olivia, I misspoke. You have written your letter of intent, right? But I also think about just some of the other things we talked about to break through and turn that corner, right? So if we get all of those people out, that's our 4 offices we have open right now, plus 11 more people. That equals a total of 15, which more than doubles last year's office count. And when we double our offices, we double our sales reps, we double our sales, we also double the ability for all of our Leadership Academy and our candidates, and we're able to put ourselves on a trajectory of 3 years of $1 million in growth. I'm excited about that. That fires me up, and I hope that that fires you up too. I think about the January program commitment, recruiting and sales push going extremely big for this time of year, and of course, our events team. You know, we just got off of an events training or events review last week. I don't know if you know this, but in the last 5 years, our events team between Dallas and Oklahoma has gone from about $800,000 to over $2.7 million. And we are projected to do $3.5 million this year. And that's not their total sales, guys. That's just their sales at the events. We also changed it up a little bit. It's now $15K to train and $15K to field train at the booth, and only $20K to start to work the marketplace events. We had 84 events throughout the state this year in our division. And we have the potential where we've already found over 200 we can be in. We just don't have the people to be in them. And one of my favorite memories is when I worked an event in college and I was able to knock out 2 days. I paid $200 for my shift and I sold $10,000. At the time I was at 50%. So I made close to $5,000 profit in the matter of just 2 days standing in a booth. That's not every weekend, but where else will you even have that as an opportunity for yourself, right? And it's a pretty exciting procedure, pretty exciting opportunity. So I want you to really consider that for yourself and think about what's the next year working with Vector look like if you truly showed up as your best and truly committed to those 5 strategic anchors. That being said, I have a little bit of a gift for some of you. I was thinking about waiting, but I think that some of you would get fired up about it now. For those of you who are getting promoted, I will be sending this out to you shortly. We've had many people who always bitch and complain that the company buys them the nice Vector shirts for the next year's trip, and they don't get one because they weren't at SLC. So I bit the bullet and I said, how do I get some of those? And we ordered one for everybody opening an office. Madrid, Spain. I hope you're fired up. Long sleeves so you can wear them in the winter. It's got the trip dates and the running of the Bulls symbol. It's got on one side, it's got Vector Marketing on the back side, and fill this. You can fill the material. It is the gold type of cotton that doesn't shrink. And yeah, the Gould type, it's really great and really awesome. So for those of you who make the commitment to running an office, you'll be getting yours shortly. And we're excited to share that with you, no doubt. Cool. Let's dive in. The first topic we've got is personal development. I want to remind us, why do we come to these meetings? Well, the goal is to grow personally, professionally, and certainly financially, and the impact and influence that you get, not being paid directly for coming to it, but indirectly through the impact that it will make for your future is dramatic. So I want to share my screen right now. We're going to jump into an audio file. There won't be any video on it, but I'm sharing my screen so you guys can actually see the video or the audio that we'll be watching. It's on YouTube, and the definition is called Meditation and Visualizing Success. It's by a guy named Anthony Robbins. You've probably heard of him before. Again, like I said, not going to pull it up on the PowerPoint or anything. It's just going to be an audio, but I'm going to play it through the loudspeaker and record it because I want you guys to really get serious about visualizing what your future looks like. This is 14 minutes. Please take some notes, and at the end, we'll do a quick recap and a review. So here we go.
Hands are going to extend up as we take the breath in, blow it out hard. Here we go.
By the way, participation is really wise here. That's music, by the way.
Oh my God.
You're not breathing that fast. You're just taking a deep breath in.
Stop, eyes closed, hands flat on your lap, hands upward, palms upward. Just relax. Feel your body. You feel any tingling. You feel a sense of peace. Eyes still closed. We're going to do 3 sets of 10 again. Enjoy it. Your hands come up, feel like energy. You're standing up to grab the energy. Snap your elbows down, ring and drop down, bring the energy within. Here we go.
Maybe it is breathing.
Drop your hands down. Relax. Eyes closed. Feel your body. Is there a centeredness? Possibility of peace. We do one more set of 10. Enjoy it when you do it. Hands up. Here we go.
By the way, I think he's pulling down, like grabbing energy and pulling down. So that's one thing you could do. I could be completely wrong. I haven't been at a Tony Robbins event. Breathing quickly. Acting and visualizing yourself grabbing energy,
Drop your hands.
putting it in you.
Relax. Feel your center. For a moment, just put your hands on your heart. Both your hands on your heart. Physically feel your heart and breathe deep into your heart and feel the energy and the power of your heart. As you breathe in, feel the blood rushing in the heart, the strength of your heart, the beauty of your heart, the gift of your heart. You don't have to work for it. It's given to you at birth. As long as it beats, you live. It's a gift. And feel grateful for your heart as you breathe into it. As you hold and touch your heart, I want you to remember now something in your life you can feel deeply grateful for. A moment in your life you can feel deeply grateful for. It could be a little moment or a big one, it doesn't matter. Just a moment at any age, at any stage of your life, you can step in that moment right now like you're there and feel grateful for it now. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt then now, like you're there, feeling so grateful. Think of a second moment now you can feel deeply grateful for. If you wanted to, it's a moment you can feel truly grateful for if you wanted to. Step in that moment like you're there. Breathe, step in and feel that gratitude for that moment. Be there, experience it. Think of a third moment now you can be grateful for. Something little or big, it doesn't matter. It's just something you can truly feel lucky or blessed or grateful for that moment or that person or that situation that happened. Maybe it was even a coincidence, but it led to something beautiful in your life. It's a coincidence that led to something important or beautiful, or something that you value, your career, relationship, your life. Was it a coincidence or were you guided? Feel grateful. Now relax your hands back on your lap. Continue to breathe deep. And now, ask that anything that needs to be healed now. Based on your belief, whatever that is, life, the universe, God, infinite intelligence, let it come within you. Ask that presence within you heal anything that needs to be healed. Your body, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, your relationships, business, healed. Breathe like you would if you felt like a white light of healing poured into everything. Your organs, your emotions, your blood, your bones, your muscles, spirit, your soul, healed. Ask that anything that needs to be solved is solved between you and others, or within yourself. And know it's true. Ask to strengthen whatever is already great inside of you. Strengthen within me my love, my appreciation, my gratitude, my passion for life, my insights, my intelligence, my compassion, my courage. Strengthen it. Just feel a sense of celebration inside, like the healing, the solutions, the strengthening you need is happening right now. And then serve. Send that energy out to all those near you. Ask healing happen for those you love. Your friends, your family, your lovers, your friends, your business associates, partners, your clients, your community, the world. Let it come from inside you, an energy that circulates out, it heals, it solves, it strengthens. Feel it. Enjoy it. Feel a sense of celebration. That things are being made better in this moment now, since thought is energy. Where focus goes, energy flows. Healing, solve, strengthen, celebrate. Feel like you're serving something great beside yourself. Enjoy that feeling. Feel like an energy comes from the top of your head. As you breathe, feel like almost like a pearl, a blue dot or a silver pearl. As you take the breath in, let the air go down your body into your stomach, down your legs, downward the ground, circulating the earth. Feel the energy coming up from the earth, up your legs, through your chest, up through your neck and the top of your head. Just imagine energy coming down through the top of your head, your chest, stomach, down through your legs, calves, feet, down deep into the earth, swirling to the center of the earth, swirling back up your legs, your stomach, chest, shoulders, neck, through the top of your head. Just been healing, solve, strengthen, celebrate, serve. Now think the next 2 minutes, three things you want to achieve or accomplish. Stepping them one at a time. 3 things that would cause you to thrive. 3 goals you're going to achieve. 3 things you're going to make happen. It could be this week, this month, this year. Step in each one like it's happening and see it the way you want it, not how you hope it looks. See it working, succeeding. Feel the energy of that all coming together, the sense of enjoyment, celebration, impact with each one of the 3. Do this for 2 minutes. Enjoy it. See it, feel it, feel a sense of celebration with each thing accomplished. Why was that? We're going to start.
So I'll end the recording, or in the the screen sharing. It's 4:31 now. And how do we feel? Right? I know that might be really weird over Zoom. And for some of you, just doing it, without a video on. But for those of you watching the recording, I hope that you played all out instead of just skipping, since you knew it was 14 minutes, to the next time there was more talking. But what do we take away from that before we talk about how we can use that productively in our business or our lives? Anybody want to share?
Definitely a new experience for me. I think just the breathing. I know that I want to implement kind of this concept into my everyday life, especially just getting myself in the right mindset when things get stressful. And then also just visualization. I think for me was the biggest thing. If I heard correctly, he said, imagine like your three big accomplishments or goals, and then like visualize what it would feel like for those to happen, which is a concept that we talked about in Vector often. So that was my favorite part. I appreciated that.
Cool. Love it. There's a lot of good breathing exercises you can research online to breathe energy into your life and into your body. There's also a lot of visualization exercises you can use as well. And I don't know about you guys, but my thing was the music. That's what really got to me, was just a constant calming sense of sound. And when I removed my visual distraction, right? Because I think that your eyesight is one of the biggest things that can distract your mind. So much to look at all the time, and your eyes move so quick, right? So when I remove that sensory feeling, all I can listen to is just my touch and my hearing, right? And there's that sound. I don't know about you, but I went to a completely different place, like emotionally and personally, and I was able to really visualize stuff. It was awesome. So thank you for sharing, Melissa. Any other big takeaways they want to share? Ayame?
For me, this is something I actually really do processing is the deep breathing and the visualizing. But I find myself falling asleep when I do it. So in the process of him saying, visualize this, think of this, think how this feels, I was actually taking notes in the process of the meditation because I found myself drifting off. So to keep myself awake, and as well as here in the moment, I also was doing like doodling, like what was happening as well.
Great.
So it was very relaxing.
Yeah, the music really was, right? Yeah. It's like you're in a spa or something. I mean, if I would have had a massage, I would have fallen asleep. So cool, good. And by the way, sometimes we need that space just to protect our mind, right? And just go somewhere where we have zero distractions. So thank you. Good. Any other, maybe one last share? Anybody else want to?
It just helped me really just breathe and relax. Just everyone's got stuff going on, so just to have a good 10 minutes like that with some soothing music like that, and just close your eyes and just you're to yourself, even though you're in a room full of people.
Yeah,
that was really relaxing and good.
Cool.
Refreshing.
Yeah,
it's like water to the mind.
Yeah,
spiritual water.
That's awesome.
Yeah, water to your eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, sometimes not having enough hydration or your eyes get dry, right? Just having them closed so they can kind of rehydrate. So a lot of power there. What would happen if you were to, that was 14 minutes. It doesn't have to be that long, but what would happen if you were to do something like that on a daily basis? And it's one thing to say, what would your day start like, right? Well, sometimes that's not an option, but maybe the best part would be in the middle of your day for an opportunity to kind of reset.
Yeah.
That way you get two components of your day. You get your morning and your afternoon. A lot of jobs, 8 hours, you have your lunch break for an hour. In most hourly positions, you think of your morning and your afternoon routine. And if the morning sucks, well, you can kind of use your lunch break to reset. So could you give yourself 30 minutes, right? Maybe not even that long, 10 or 15, just to visualize, de-stress. I mean, we did it in a safe environment like this, but you could do that in your car. lock the doors, right? Sit there, eyes shut. You might get some weird looks, but who cares? So I want to take that exercise and I want to apply it to your professional development. Again, we're here to grow personally, professionally, and financially. So I want to talk about your professional development. What I want you to write down is my playbook. My playbook. You know, what's interesting about vector marketing is it's a forever thing. Hashtag, it's a forever thing. I'm really pumped about that. You've heard hashtag vector trained. You've heard hashtag vector, 5-star recruit. You've heard hashtag Cutco through college. But I want you to hashtag, and I want to coin that term of it's a forever thing. And our product has a forever guarantee. You know what I think is really interesting is that the experience that we offer here is a forever thing. I have people that have gone through our Leadership Academy and training development programs that after 3, 4, 5, 10 years are coming back and saying, hey, what was that one document, or what was that one exercise, or what was one of that thought processes that you had? What was it? Can you send that to me? Can you remind me what it was? Because I need that in my professional career. And I think it's interesting that that weird knife job back in college still has value that they're bringing to their life 5, 10, many times 20 years later. I haven't had that yet, but I know stories. So my point is this: are you creating a playbook of all the lessons that you learned with Vector? I think about in architecture, one of my favorite books to read was about this small. It wasn't a bunch of pictures and intense things. It was just a few quotes and sketches. And it says 101 things I wish I knew before I started architecture school. And it was so awesome. And it was small and powerful and quick reads, and it was so intense. My question to you is, do you have a place that you can go where you're writing down quotes, you're writing down books, you're writing down sources, you're writing down exercises that maybe you learned in or outside of Vector, but that you could use for the rest of your life? The things that you wish you could pass down to your kids and teach them. And in addition to that, I think about all of the handouts and the documents that we supply you with the intention of you either helping to run an office or actively running one. And my challenge to you is, are you organized with that? Do you have your go-to binder? If you were to take a 3-ring binder and 3-hole punch every single document we give you and categorize and organize it into things such as recruiting and training and productivity or coaching and development, right? If you were to take that and then subcategorize it into things like, making calls and booking people, handling objections, things like running an interview, collecting PR names, things like confirming people for training and getting them to show. And then with training, all the different details and notes and sections that you had taken. If you had a playbook like that, how much more confidence would you develop in helping or actively running an office? I want you to start planning. And here's your first assignment. Your first assignment for today's Leadership Academy is to sit down and start to visualize what your office is going to look like, feel like, be like. What's your culture going to be based around? What's your mission statement? What's your vision? And veterans, Brandon, Bailey, Melissa, Carissa, I want you to really challenge yourself to think about next year as a fresh start, a clean slate. The past does not equal the future. And what if you had a reset button that you could just push, just like a video game, right? If you've ever played video games, you get to that boss level and you know that if you're not at blank point by blank time, you're like, I ain't going to win anyway, restart, right? Start over, redoozies. That's what we used to call it when we were growing up. Being able to push that button and just start anew. What would happen with the power and the strength that would come from that if you were to just start to take 10 minutes a day to visualize? What's your team meeting going to feel like? When I was doing the visualization exercise about things that I want, I visualized what it would be like to sit in the seat I'm in right now, in the room I'm in right now, with 20 to 30 people less than 3 weeks and every chair filled, with sharp top-level recruits that are ready to go out there and rip it up and dominate and help us hit our $200,000 goal. And it was interesting because when he started saying visualize it and the whole blue dot concept, I could start to picture faces and bodies and silhouettes in front of me. I could start to feel what it was going to be like to stand in front of the room and deliver my mission statement and my opening comments. It was powerful. If you spent 10 minutes just 5 days a week, 50 minutes or close to an hour visualizing what your office could look like, feel like, and become, between now and when you open, there's 20 weeks. That's just a reminder to everybody. There are 20 weeks before the official summer begins in 2020. What are you going to do with those 20 weeks? Less than 6 months away. Where are you going to be at? What's it going to feel like? What's it going to look like? That's another reason I love this season. We're about 6 months away from the summertime starting, right? So I want you to consider that. Where do you want to be at in career sales? What do you want your startup to look like for savings? Where do you want your skills to be? And really start to visualize that. And if it's scary at first, good. You're going to have to fear it at some point anyway. So feel the fear. Feel the scare. Feel the nervousness and the anxiety. Because every time you start to visualize it, more and more of that will melt away. More and more of that will go away. And the more powerful and empowered you'll become to go after it and dominate it. So I want you to consider that for yourself, right? And really start to take full ownership. I think that when I think about visualization, I think about the word ownership. Taking full ownership of your energy. Taking full ownership of your expectations for yourself. Taking full ownership of the direction your life is headed. And if you don't like some of the things that are happening in this business right now, and you feel like, well, grass is greener on the other side, maybe I should take off and leave. My question to you is, how are you going to be different when you do? Because the one common denominator is you. And you can change the job, you can change the employer, you can change who's paying you. But if you don't change yourself, you're just going to be followed by all your problems. They're just going to show up packaged differently. So what that comes down to is the age-old concept of change your habits, change your life. Fair enough? So those are my challenges to you. I hope that you got some value out of that and you're excited about moving forward into the future. I want to talk about Year in Banquet. Your next assignment to write down is sign up for Year in Banquet. One of my favorite conferences of the year, certainly my favorite on a region-wide scale. And I can tell you that this event is going to be absolutely lights out this year. We employ a full stage crew. We have full flat screen PowerPoints. We have a light show. We have a stage that's epic that fits like 30 people on it because we have so much to recognize. We have a chance as the South Best region this year to take home over 5 to 6 Silver Cup national championships. There will be real life black BMWs there for you to check out. There will be bonus checks in the $100,000 range. You will have 500 people there at the event in the banquet, and people will be dressed to the nines. I will be in a full tux. Many of our people will be wearing Rolex watches and their Hall of Fame and Court of Honor rings, and it is going to be phenomenal. This is where we recognize all of the success in 2019, and once again, another national championship as the region. This is where we promote next year's managers. This is where we teach you and train you. This is where you network, and this is where you'll get an opportunity to be introduced and shake the hand of our Bruce Goodman, our CEO of Vector West. I got to tell you, this is the event to be at. So where is it? It's at the Embassy Suites in San Marcos. I should have shared this, sorry. But you can check your email. By the way, it's located just outside of Austin and San Antonio. It is a beautiful resort, and this will blow your mind. What's included is a 2-night hotel stay, Friday and Saturday kickoff meeting and breakouts. You also have $20 for lunch, and you also get all of the food while you're there. All registered people get a 4-pack of table knives worth over $160 you can sell for cash and cover the cost of the event. And the event begins on Friday, January 17th at 2 p.m. Awards banquet will start at 2 p.m. on Saturday and go evening that night. The pricing is not much more, but you get way more. It's awesome. So managers or CSPs, 2 to a room, $280 covers all of it. Managers and CSPs with a spouse, $380. And of course, a little bit more if you want a private room. Non-CSPs, right, and non-managers, you're looking at a single rate of $280, and if you want your own private room, $480 for the 2-night stay. Attend for free. Yeah, my favorite 4-letter F word, F-R-E-E, baby, right? So let's talk about attending for free. Who would want to go to Year in Banquet for free? Anybody down to do that? Well, check this out. You can sell Super Shears commission-free to cover the cost of your event. By the way, the Super Shears are amazing. We have them in 3 different colors currently, right? And they're an opportunity for you to be able to knock those things out. Pretty darn simple. So you sell 1, $70 off, 2, $140 off, 3, $210 off. And for the first time ever, you can actually sell 4 and go for free. Pretty freaking awesome, by the way. And all they've got to do is buy the super shares. You don't get the sales credit. It doesn't count towards your commissions or your promotions, but you sell 4 super shares and you are going to Year End Banquet for free. Just make sure you write Southwest Region Year End Banquet on the order. Travel info. If you decide to travel, you can buy, if you're flying, a galley set, right? Basic galley set for $110. It's worth $739. So let me do the math. You buy a galley set for $110, you sell it for $739. The customer saves the money on the tax, which is almost $100, and you're able to profit off of that $639. That being said, I would definitely be in a position where I would fly versus drive the 6 hours. If you don't want to do that, you can drive and you still get another 4-pack of table knives worth about $160. And if you decide to drive, you're able to go ahead and use that to sell to pay for your gas and your mileage with getting down there if you want to carpool. So if you have any questions, contact your manager or the region office. We need everybody signed up immediately, right? So put that on the to-do list. By the way, you can charge your commission account. That makes it very affordable to go. You can do payments, which is even more effective and very, very exciting. So look forward to that. For those of you who are considering flying, here is the promotion for the flight and how the galley set works. You can ask for somebody to sponsor you. They can go ahead and cut you a check for $739 plus tax. You would use 110 of that to buy the galley set and then just have it shipped directly to them. But here's the cool thing. You could sell it for less and still cover the flight cost, right? Savings of $239. Just give them a cash discount. Hey, cut me a check for $500. We'll ship it to you soon. You're going to spend 110 of that, right? Paying for the set, and you still profit $380. Last time I checked, you can get round trip flights to and back from Austin, from OKC or Tulsa for less than $300. So look into it. It's a great way for you to go and qualify for the event. Like I said, and I wanted to share both of those for sure. The last thing I wanted to share was just the push promotion that we've got for the event. Yes, there's a big push, and the push is not just for Cabo. It's also for bragging rights and for actual trophies. So if you guys want to check this out, it's pretty sweet. And what it says is the push dates December 26th through January 18th. So this is the 2019 kickoff. I think it should be called 2020. Nope, this was last year's. So I apologize. Never mind. That's not the exact dates. The dates you should write down are the 31st. So January 31st December 31st through January 18th, right? So it's going to be a 18-day sales push. It's going to be exciting. Check your email for it, but there will be bragging rights and trophies, and of course, a phenomenal trip to Cabo that's going to be a lot of fun too. Sound good? All right. Sweet. So that's Year End Banquet. By the way, invite your parents. There will be plenty of parents there. There's going to be a breakout before the conference at 12 o'clock on Saturday, the 18th, and that will be for parents to attend. My mom and dad were not supportive of me running an office, but they at least thought, well, I guess we'll let him do it. They went to the parent event with both Drew and Lloyd, and afterwards when we talked, they said, so where's your office going to be? And I was like, what the heck happened to you? And they said, well, that event was great. I learned a lot. All my questions were answered, and we're so much in support of what you're going to be doing and how you're going to do it. And it was amazing how just taking them to the event and going and meeting with Lloyd Reagan answered a lot of their questions. So I want everybody to invite people. I remember last year, we've got our photo, but we had a bunch of people there. It's really exciting too. I'll actually load this and share this screen right now. I'll pull it over to the side so those of you here in person can see it. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump into the actual content, but I will share it on the Zoom as well. But last year and every year, we actually take the time. See if I can find it on here. Got a lot of windows open. There we go. So I'll share this. But every year, we actually take the time to take a photo as a division. And for those of you who can't see right now, I can't really zoom in on it, but it's pretty cool. Last year, you can see we had 2 rows, and that was the biggest photo we've taken with our leaders and champions. I can't wait to double or triple that size of our group, and this includes reps, candidates, assistant managers, current managers, future development, and CSPs that are going to be there. It's going to be a very, very exciting awards banquet, and I can't wait to double the size of that photo this year, no doubt. So get signed up immediately. Text me once you're signed up. If you have questions, call me, ask me, but let's make sure that is a top priority for us as we move forward. Sound good? So we fired up about Year End Banquet, yes or yes? By the way, everybody's going. Don't be the person that doesn't go. We were joking about it last year, but we had one of our representatives, who will not be named, that decided that they did not want to attend the event. It wasn't worth it for them. And I'll tell you, when we came back, definitely felt like they missed out. And luckily, they're still around in the business and still with us. But I'll tell you, it was very disappointing for me to not be able to have them there. And this year, after going to so many other events, it's like there's no way I'm not going to go, right? And already getting signed up immediately. So we'll save their integrity, but it is somebody that is still with our company. I'll leave it at that. All right. In your notes, please write down winter break expectations. I want you to write down expectations of your winter break. You know, if you're listening to this recording right now, I know timing couldn't have been worse this year with finals week and a 53-week year. And I appreciate you guys just for taking the time to listen to the recording and be here and present if you are. But I got to share with you guys, this is, an opportunity for you to literally change your life forever if you do it right. So what are my expectations of the winter break? Well, I'm not going to force you to commit to any goal, but I do expect you to have a goal. And if you don't have a goal, you're literally going to miss it. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going to get what you want. So the first thing I want you to write down is sales leadership. I expect you to go hard. I expect you to go big. Now, for some of you, that might just be $3,000 because you've never had a 3K push before. But I expect you to go big, and I expect you to sell. You should expect that from yourself too. For many of you, you could double or triple your career sales. For some of you, you can knock out that official 10K promotion that's elusive, right? For many of you, you could get a Vince team qualified, or possibly even a Vince team working qualified, which is pretty exciting. And in my opinion, there's no better time of the year to sell than during, right, a push period. And when I think about a push period that has no distractions from school, holidays already out of the way, right, and you have a contest that is this big, why not go big for it? So what is your sales leadership going to be? And if you call yourself a leader or an assistant manager, but you're not going to set a good example of what it means to lead by sales, that's a challenging issue, because now you are literally bringing down, right, the expectations of all of our new reps and all of our future reps for next year. Number two, I want you to focus when you go after sales leadership on three fundamental things. Number one, effort, not results. Right? We tell our reps in training all the time that we'll never judge you on results, but we will judge you on your work ethic. We'll judge you on a positive attitude, and we'll judge you on quality and healthy, consistent communication, right? So again, attitude, work ethic, and communication. When I think about you, it's all about the effort, not the results. What effort are you going to put in? And if you're not going to put in a level 10 best, if you're not going to show up as your best for this push period, then why even go after it, right? If you're going to fail, at least fail by trying. And I want to remind everybody that I don't care where you finish, I care how you finish, and I care how you show up, and you should too. I think about your energy, getting your habits right, getting on a sleep cycle, getting in the position where you're eating healthy. For some of you, doing some food prep. I love looking at Brandon Cobb, having a gallon of water everywhere he goes. The challenge is he leaves it everywhere he goes too, so he's got to get a new bottle every day. But he drinks about half of it before he leaves it somewhere. And then the cool thing is, eventually he's going to stop having to buy bottles because there'll be one everywhere he's gone before, and he can just chug the other half gallon that he left. But it's a good thing. So he's storing for the zombie apocalypse. He's got water in all kinds of different random areas. But getting yourself healthy, eating right, drinking enough water, right? And the big thing that I want you to write down is culture, right? Effort, energy, and culture. What is the culture that we want for big push periods? What is the culture that we want to generate for next summer's SC1 and SC2 push periods? Those of you around this summer noticed that when we went down to Austin, it was pretty freaking crazy to have close to 100 people that sold over $10,000 for a push standing at the front of the room. Now, that being said, right, we're not planning to go back to Austin when we have 15 offices. So we're going to have to create our own identity. And if we don't take the time to do that right now, when are we ever going to, right? So we need to take ownership of that 100%. So again, keep that in mind as we move forward. All right. Next big thing I need to write down is recruiting expectations. We need everybody to fully commit to recruiting. So when I think about recruiting, I think about three fundamental things. Number one, the growth recruits, right? When it comes to social media. Are you sending out 50 messages? Are you sharing the Google form link? Are you talking about how we have a 1 to 3 week work opportunity where your friends can make anywhere from $500 to $3,000? And also, are you sharing with the fact that, hey, they might not have been interested in the past, but why not now? I think about Kyle Preman 6 years ago, had a girl that had said no for over a year and a half. She had actually received 4 different PR calls and said no to every one of them. She never wanted to do the job. And finally they said, hey, Why don't you at least just do it for 2 weeks just to say you'll do it, and we'll never bother you again. She came in for those 2 weeks. She had a 10K fast start. She made $2,000, and now she's been his #1 person for the last 6 years. Let's not forget the guy like Josh Mueller, who's now over $6 million in career sales and is one of the counselors and coordinators, right, for national. Heard about this job for multiple years and finally lost his job. And the only reason he started it was to prove that the job doesn't work. And now he's had one of the most dramatic influences over our corporation. Our best people who are the ones who are the hardest to get. Just like your best clients are the ones who are the hardest to book. Don't give up. Fight for your friends. Fight for your network and get them on board. Nothing bad can happen by them giving it a shot. Nothing bad can happen by them coming in for an interview. If anything, they're always going to leave a better version of themselves than they were when they started. So social media, get out there. Let's get it done. Facebook Jumpstart for sure. By the way, also social media messaging your friends. If they see an opportunity like this, they've got no other competition for this job. They've got no other distractions, so why not? PRs. How many PRs are you going to be booking? We need to remember the 10-to-1 ratio. If an office wants to complete 40 launch in the month of January, then they need to have a game plan to book 400 PRs to guarantee that that happens, right? The 10-to-1 ratio always being in effect. And of course, the last thing is really being effective with learning and watching interviews and of course, campus, right? And now that campus has gone away, how effective are you with learning and watching your interviews as you move forward? All right. So before we bring up our first speaker, last 3 things that I want to discuss real quick is training. You know, if you're going to open an office, it's really important that you not just know how to run training, but you've actually experienced it before. Make the mistake on your manager's dollar. So I'm inviting and kind of requiring anybody who wants to open an office to watch my training class on the 27th and 28th of December. The 27th is going to be from 10:30 until 6. The 28th will be from 10 until 4:30, and we'll launch out our first group of 2020. That being said, I need you guys to make sure that you're really intense and committed to watching that and also figuring out when you can run your own seminar. I know at this point, Brandon's run his own seminar, huge confidence boost. He's got another good one coming in for tomorrow. And what we've loved and learned a lot from is that he's been able to watch a couple, run one, watch one, and now he'll be running one again. And that pattern really helps you out with success. For those of you who can't run a seminar over your winter break or you just don't feel confident enough yet, how can you run one in the spring? And how can you certainly possibly run one over your spring break? I want to remind you that running training is necessary before you open an office, no doubt. Next big one is PRs and team building, right? Thinking about triple threat for the spring. I know a lot of you had a challenge of meeting triple threat for the fall. So what are you doing to commit and make that happen for the spring, right? When it comes to triple threat, I want you to think about that for yourself. Booking 50 PRs, getting 3 or more of your friends so you can compete for the scholarship, and of course, selling 10K. Your position as an assistant manager is the best position ever if you're knocking out triple threat each campaign. So could you get 3 of your friends to start training in the first 1 or 2 weeks? What would that feel like for next year? And let's not forget that anybody that you get on the team that are your friends become your choice to bring as assistant managers when you open your own office. So it's a great way to start building your workforce and your recruits. Branch managers, don't forget for office prep. We need to make sure that we're talking to our family, having healthy conversations. We need to make sure that you're building up your savings. So let's not forget about skills, sales, and savings, building your startup. The checkpoint is before the push. How do you have $1,000 in startup and $1,000 in savings? If you're not there yet, selling your Olean Homemaker will make a dramatic difference for many of you, right? So get that thing done. And then, of course, making sure you get a parent dinner in the near future and getting a lot of recruits out there on the social media devices. Sound good? Sweet. So this break sets the tone for all of next year. And when I think about next year knocking out over $2 million to $3 million, we need to really get serious about how that happens and how that breaks down, no doubt. Cool? So those are our opening comments. Take advantage of the visualization exercise. Sign up for Year-End Banquet. The 2020 will be the best year of our careers, the best year of our lives, but only if we're intentional about it, and we got to get really serious about that moving forward. Cool? All right. Second half of Leadership Academy is going to be all based on skills focus. We have our training seminar excellence, and I am so excited about our speakers. We've got 3 of them on here. Melissa covering confirmation calls. We've got myself covering the proctoring of the videos. And then we've got Bailey Homan talking about first weekend follow-up, PDI, and getting people to advanced training. Realize that if you want to run a successful office this summer, you really just need to be good at 3 things. Number 1, running interviews. Number 2, booking PRs and handling objections. And number 3, being able to properly train and coach representatives, right? It really is a simple process. And now that we've got training enhanced with on video, and now that we've got it simplified and shortened, it's never been as easy to get some major pop immediately out of training. And if you get these kids crushing their first weekend, they will have high-level expectations, be so much more committed to sticking around. You know, I think about Brandon running the new videos for the first time ever. Raven ran them before me, and first night launched 4, and they sold $5,000. That means he got not $1,000 first weekend PPR in the first weekend. He got $1,000 first night PPR with a signature set and an ultimate set, and both of those kids very close to their 3K promotion in no time. So I'm fired up about the next hour and a half covering this content and this information. And then after that, we'll give you a few assignments before we wrap for the evening. Sound good? All right. Fantastic. So first up, we have Melissa Bender, and Melissa is our district manager in South Tulsa. Melissa is in a position where she has some great development for this upcoming year. And when I think about somebody that's great on the phone, great at building relationships, great at connecting, it's definitely Melissa Bender. She's going to talk about the whys of a confirmation call. She's going to review the script and the timing of when we do it. She's going to talk about making that connection and paying attention to people's energy more than their words. You know, what you got to learn is the moment you have a title, people are going to start to tell you what you want to hear. They're not going to be honest with you, or they won't even tell you anything in the first place, right? So I think it's absolutely crucial and critical that you understand how to pay attention to somebody's energy and ask the right questions. And then, of course, the last one is the assignment of giving them the position or the permission to build a lot of names and walk in with a ton for training. The number one reason why somebody succeeds with their company is because they have a big names list, right? So learning how to really drive the names list, ask them where they're at and how many more that they have. So Melissa, what I'm going to do just to make sure it's simple and we have the script is I'm going to go ahead and pull the script over on the screen. I'm going to share the script and then you can do the words behind it and be sharing it as you go through. Do you want me to do that now or do that in just a bit?
I think as soon as you want to go, that's fine. I'm going to be literally just walking through the script.
Okay. Cool.
So I'll just be audio is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the video will still be on the side of the recording, but yeah, mainly the audio for it. So here's the script. I'll go ahead and share it, and we'll get things rocking. So let's give Melissa Bender a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Melissa Waugh, by the way. Just
oh, yes. You're always a Bender to me. Melissa Waugh. I'm sorry, Pearson.
No, it's all good. I won't tell. So I'm really excited to talk about this. I don't have a ton of time. We just have 15 minutes to run through all of this. So I am going to really just get to the meat and potatoes, but I am very excited for this. Training confirmation calls. I hated them. They were like terrified me in the beginning, and it's one of my favorite things now. It's like the icing on the cake as far as recruiting for me at the end of the week. And so I'm going to share a lot of the mindset shifts, a lot of the tips and tricks, a lot of the things that I've learned over the years that have really helped me get to this, the point that I feel like I am. And again, I just want to, number one, just build you guys' confidence in the script. This script is freaking beautiful. I was going over it in preparation for this talk, and I was just, even to myself, just, man, I need to get back to this script. Everything is here, and always following this. I've kind of gotten away from that, even though I would consider myself a pretty good confirmation caller, whatever you want to call it. Everything is here, so just relying on the script a lot, but I am going to walk you guys through it. Number one, just objectives. I like that it starts, you can see at the top, with philosophy. When I started, whenever I was new at making confirmation calls, my mindset toward it was just to make sure they showed to training, but it's so much more than that. My mindset has really shifted from just making sure they come to training, to making sure they show to training in the right way. And so it's a lot bigger than that. So, you know, when I was new, it was like, you're coming, right? That was kind of like the vibe of my call. It was not very confident. You're coming, right? I need you to come. Like, that's not the purpose behind it at all. we want it to be building confidence for them. I see training confirmation calls as a courtesy to our trainees, as a courtesy to them. And I treat it like that. I make them feel special. Everyone I'm on the phone with, I'll mention to them, hey, I always, as a manager, I always make sure to call my top people from each training class just to connect with my top people and make sure you're completely prepared and that you feel good coming in tomorrow. And people really appreciate that. It goes from, yeah, I'll be there for sure, to, oh, thanks so much for your time. Yeah. And so just making people feel special, making sure that you're seeing these calls in the right way. Two big areas that I'm going to cover are, one, handling objections, and then two, just making sure that you're building a big, helping your people build a big names list. These are two areas that that are particular strengths for me. And so I'm going to share with you guys a lot of the lessons I've learned. Okay, so you can see in the very beginning, we're just going to walk through the approach. Hey, blank, this is Melissa from Vector. How's it going? And then it's very, very simple. I was calling to give you some reminders for training tomorrow. I like that it includes, let me move this real quick. For some reminders for training tomorrow, do you have a second? And you guys will notice this is a lot of questions. I think this is another beautiful thing about the script, is it's a lot of questions. I used to just steamroll through my training confirmation calls and try to say all the right things. It's really important to listen, especially in the beginning of the call, especially because they haven't saved your number a lot of times and you're catching them off guard. So just listening to their energy, listening to their level of excitement. And again, like I said, using that key phrase of, hey, I always make sure to connect with my top people, the folks that I'm really excited about each training class, to make sure you're completely prepared for training. Do you have a second? And making them feel special, like, oh, they specifically reached out to me to make sure I was feeling good and to give me some tips and tricks for training. And so just gauging their level of excitement, you can kind of tell. I can always tell from someone's vibe on their training confirmation calls whether they're going to show or not. And based on that is going to that's how my training confirmation call is going to go. Rapport. One thing I would take a note of if you're taking notes is to have their application in front of you. The person to call them typically is going to be the person that interviewed them. That's how I was trained up. It should either be the person that interviewed them, or it can just be the person that's running training to kind of introduce yourself. They can not put a name to a face, but kind of meet the person that's going to be running training so that when they walk in, they feel like they know you a little bit. But I always try to have it, whoever ran their interview is going to be calling them. There's a higher level of trust. There's name recognition. And you ran the interview, you can ask about specific things. I always ask right there where it says report, you can put, if you have your script in front of you, you can put ask about their current job. Hey, how's finals week going? Hey, how are things at the bakery? Hey, I know your schedule has been crazy. Thanks for taking off today. Is everything good with your other job if they had to take off a shift? Little things make a big difference. Kind of remembering those things from your interview. So I always have the script out in front of me, their application out in front of me. That's a big one. And then just mentioning, like it says, name drop PRs or top reps, just name dropping who recommended them. Hey, your friend Mazurk's really excited for you to join the team. He said he might drop by training to see you guys. Anything like that. Another note I would put down is start with your top people when you're calling through confirmations. Start with your top people. I find that my energy is better when I start. And also you can name drop. Like a lot of the time I'll have friends of friends in the same training seminar from interview PRs. So it's starting with your top people. I'll mention stuff like, oh, your buddy said he's bringing a pineapple. What are you thinking about bringing? Or, hey, your buddy's at like 75 names. He's determined to come with more than you. What do you think you can get to? Like sparking competition. My trainees are always really competitive with names lists. And so I'll talk to you guys more about the names list approach later. But that's a really important part. Do you have any questions before training? It's important to handle the objections, the doubts, the concerns before you do the tips. Because if you don't handle them, that's all that's on their mind. And they're not really listening to what you're saying. They're thinking about their concerns. So that's why it's here in the script, is just handling these objections. Okay, do you have any questions before training? If not, if they're like, no, I'm super excited, blah, blah, blah. Then I'll just jump right into it. But even if I feel like the vibe is off, I'm going to dig in. I'm going to ask again. I'm going to say, hey, how was it explaining it to your parents? What do they think about the job? Awesome. Anything that's making you a little nervous, or anything holding you back? And I'll dig in. Like I I hate going through a call where I feel like something's off and we haven't gotten to it. I just want people to be honest with me. And if you're honest with them, people will be honest with you. I did that way too much when I was new. I would just, it was so true what Nick is saying is people will just say what they think you want to hear. And instead of being honest, and if you're just really honest with people, they tend to return that energy. So, all right. And then the reminders are so simple. You guys probably know these. Hey, we start at this time. Your top people, it's really important for them to be 20 to 30 minutes early. And if you ask for them to be 20 or 30 minutes early, typically they're like 15, 20 minutes early, right? Like it's never exact. If you want, like if I wanted them to be 15 minutes early, I would say 30, right? You always want to ask for a little bit more. And then worst case scenario, they'll be there at least 15. And I usually just build a little value in that, they don't want to become thinking they'll just sitting there alone for 30 minutes. It's like, hey, a lot of our people are shooting to get there 20, 30 minutes early so they can sign in, grab a front row seat, get to know their team members. I love to get to know you guys better too. So I love when people get there early, get some paperwork out of the way so that we're able to start on time. Is there any way you can get there 20 to 30 minutes early? So they know that it's important. And also they know what they're coming to do, right? Like when you preface it that way, they come in the door eager to introduce themselves to people. If you prep them in the right way, hey, a lot of people get there early so they can get to know the team. They can get a good front row seat, introduce yourself to the trainer if you're not training. And then they come in ready to make friends and you don't have to like force the introductions and be like, talk, don't be awkward. They know they're there to make friends. And so they show up with the right energy. Make sure you're there early, bring a lunch, notebook and pen, dress professionally. Make sure to confirm your information in the email that was sent to you. This one's the most important. Have you started your practice appointment brainstorm list yet? Now, this will make more sense if you guys are hitting on this hard in the interview. In the interview, I build the expectation that most of the people that come into training come with 50 to 100. I know that's more than most offices. I know the minimum here says 10. But something I want to ask you guys, and something good to write down in your notes, is what are your expectations as a manager as far as how many they can come with, right? Like whatever your expectations are, you can kind of have that, and that's what they think they can do, right? So if you're treating it like it's a big deal if they come with 30, right? Or like, hey, great job if they have 10, then they're going to come with that. And then what do they think when we get to training and they're like, mission 100 guys, everyone has 100. And they're like, 100? I thought I was doing great with 10, right? Like you don't want there to be that disconnect. And so I always hit on that in the interview. I share a personal story. This has been the most helpful way for me to share in the interview. And I'll just kind of role play my approach with you. The way I introduce it, and you guys, this is in the interview script as well, is just, hey, this is the most important part to your success in training. This is a list of anyone and everyone that you could ever possibly show Cutco to, right? Anyone that would be nice enough for you to show Cutco to. And I share my personal story. If you guys didn't come with a lot to training, share someone else's story. But I'll start out with, okay, I was not the 18-year-old you thought had a huge social circle. I don't always go into detail, but like for real guys, I wasn't, right? I look back on who I was as an applicant, and it's like I was homeschooled. I literally graduated with 12 people, right? A stay-at-home mom. My dad, like most of his coworkers didn't even speak English. Like I was not the kid that you'd be like, heck yeah, they can come with 100. But I came with 100. Well, I came with 60 and then built it to 120 in training. So I'll tell people, hey, I had 120 people on my list. And I'll just run through, hey, I was putting everyone down. I put my mom's friends, my dad's friends, every kid I graduated with. They don't know I'm homeschooled, so that sounds big. Every kid, I was a band kid, an orchestra kid, every band kid I knew, every summer camp kid, every person from my church. Like I'll just kind of like name off all of these things that I took lists from, and people all of a sudden are like, yeah, that does sound like a lot of people. And everyone has parents, everyone went to a school. If they're an athlete, I'll say, hey, I wasn't an athlete, but if I was you, it'd be like every teammate that you played with. And just build it up really big. And they're like, okay. And then I just preface it with, hey, and again, you're not going to call everyone. There's going to be some people that were like, all right, that's a 90-year-old widow, maybe not go to them. And they're usually like, LOL, yeah, there's going to be some people. But I tell them the goal is to cast a wide net, right? Like build it up as big as you can, and then we'll help you narrow it down, right? And my people know, just as a mentality, you don't have to say this in the interview, but like my rule as a manager is I will make you write them down. I won't make you call them. That's my rule, is like, I won't make you call every person, but I will make you write every person down. And then they'll call them when they're comfortable. I'll tell them, hey, like this list doesn't get handed in. You're not giving this to anyone. It's literally just for you, but it's so helpful for you to just know your options. And then I leave a back door. You don't want to scare people off with 100. Like, hey, if I don't have 100, I'm going to fail. Like, and I'll say, so a lot of people will shoot for that 100 number just to see if they can. So make it like a game, like competitive with themselves. Hey, a lot of people shoot for 100 just to see if they can, because it's a huge confidence boost. But honestly, but honestly, Daniel, most, like on average, it's like 30, 40, 50. So I say it like that. And they're like, oh, okay, that's most people, but a lot of people shoot for it. And so then in their mind, they're like, hey, if I just have 30, I'm solid. Like, I'm going to do fine. But it creates this curiosity, and it's like a challenge and a little bit competitive to like, hey, see if you can get to 100. And then you always plug, my top people are the ones that come with the most names. We see it as managers as the more preparation you put into it, the more potential you likely have in a job, right? And that makes sense to everyone. And so it's like a challenge. It's like competitive. And then I'm always like, hey, are you a competitive person? And a lot of people are like, yeah, with myself, with others. Yeah, I'm pretty competitive. Or, hey, I'm really competitive. It's like, if you come with 100, you'll be top of the class. You'll be number one. I've trained a lot of classes, and it's pretty easy for me to make a bet on someone if I see they have 100 people on their list. And you just smile and make it a fun thing. And so that's the interview. And this makes your training confirmation call so much easier, because they already know that 100 is what a lot of people shoot for. And so I haven't gotten anyone tell me 10 in so long. And if they do, whatever they tell you, like if someone answers the phone, they're like, all right, I got 2 really good people to show. You're like, great start. I always say, great start, solid start. Awesome. What's your, and then I'll just kind of recap. Hey, this is incredibly important. Again, we're just casting a wide net. You're just writing in all your options. The more you have on your list, the more picky and selective you can be, and the better start you'll get off to, is why that's important. So what's your goal to have by the time training starts? And so that it's a low key way of saying, okay, you need more, right? Just like, solid start. You got 10 people. Awesome. Well, what's your goal to have your list to by the time training starts? And they'll be like, oh, and they'll at least double it. And so it's been a while since I've had any come. Typically people come with like 50 to 100. That's really normal for training. Like 30 on the low end of things. And the one thing I always say, if someone's giving like deer in the headlights look, I always finish with, I know some people hear 100 and it's like, oh, it's so many, but you think about how many Facebook friends we have or Instagram followers, and then they immediately think like everyone has at least 100 friends on Facebook. Like that's just how it is. And so especially with young folks, they sit there and they're like, yeah, actually, and I'll say, I've done this for a long time and everyone knows more people than they think they do. Like everyone. And so it's like, hey, just see what you get to. And then in the interview, I'll typically get a number from them. I'll say, so that being said, what do you feel like you can shoot for? What's a number you think you can get to? And they'll say, oh, your top people are going to be like, I can get to 100. If you did it, I can do it. And you're maybe more nervous people, they'll be like, I can do 30. And I write that number down and circle it on their acceptance sheet. And so you're asking on here, hey, do you still have that sheet that I gave you? So that's how I get 50 to 100. It makes your life so much easier as a training, not trying to squeeze those out of them in the training class, but if they already come with them. And then typically from what I've seen, whatever number they come with in training, you can double it. Like 10, they're going to get to like 50 in training. But if they come with 100, I've had people get to 200, 50 typically gets to 100, 30 to 60. That's how it typically works out for me in training. So I hope that helps. The last one I want to go through with you guys is handling objections. There's that one on there. I'm really looking forward to it. Blah, blah, blah. Handling objections. The number one breakthrough that I had, I know I'm a little over, I'll keep it short. The number one breakthrough that I had as a manager with handling objections, I went like a year, never changing someone's mind. I handled probably hundreds of objections for training. And I distinctly remember the first time it actually worked for me and my breakthrough. I like called my mom. I was like, I finally did it. It's a long journey for me. And I realized I was not listening to people's objections. You can say everything perfectly, but if you're steamrolling over someone's concern and they don't feel like you really get it and you're just like contradicting them and saying, yeah, well, this is why it's going to work out, you're not going to receive a lot of trust like that. And once I just started slowing down and asking a question, repeating back to them their concern, asking a follow-up question on that. Hey, why is that? That's when it started clicking. And that's when I finally was able to properly and successfully handle objections. I remember the first time it happened, it was like a 15-minute phone call. This kid called in. He had several different concerns. This isn't for me. I don't know people. My parents aren't supportive, whatever it was. And I just literally, most of the phone call was like listening to him. It was like, oh, okay. So you feel like this because of that. So like repeating the objection back to him. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sharing my own experience. Hey, honestly, I totally get that because this is something that I went through. So I definitely relate to the feeling. And he was a talker. So he just like shared really honestly his objections with me. And, you know, I was just, the key is like honesty from what I found. Don't try so hard to say everything perfectly into the script and correctly. Like you can memorize these and they'll really, really help you, but just being honest with people about your experience. And the number one thing, and this is scripted out, but the number one philosophy that I take to handling objections is I'd rather you have the information and not need it than need it and not have it. Like that's the way you get someone to come to the first day of training. If they're against it on the phone is, hey, honestly, I'm running the class. You're signed up anyway. You've gotten this far. I'd rather you come and have the information and not need it and then decide that you're good than look back in the future and think, what if, you know? I know, and then I'll share, hey, I'm really grateful that I decided to push past the fear that I had and my mom's, you know, crazy fears about the job and come to training. I never would have, and I'll even list off some of the things that this has brought me. I never would have moved out at 19 to run my own business. I never would have met my incredible husband through my manager's friend. I never would have, you know, proved to myself that I can do anything I think, you know, that I want to. And I know I would have gained a lot of the things in my first 2 weeks. And so it's like, for me as a manager, I'd rather you come and work for a week or two and then decide than give up on yourself too early and then wonder what if and have regrets later, right? So, and that's all in there. I'd really encourage you guys to use the script. But also when someone has a concern, slow down, repeat their concern back to them. Oh, okay, so you're just feeling like this. And then a key line, if you guys are writing anything down, is, was there anything else that was holding you back? Was there anything else that was on your mind? Was there anything else that you were having second thoughts about? Was there anything else that you were worried about? And a lot of times there is. I was shocked when I started asking that. They're like, yeah, well, my mom doesn't like it, but also, like, I don't know if I'd be good at it. Whereas before, I'd just say, oh, my parents thought that too. I came in and it was great. And I would just steamroll over it, and they wouldn't come. Whereas if you stop, because a lot of people will give you a thing that they think sounds good, or, oh, my parents just won't let me. That's bull crap. Like, if someone's 18, they're going to do what they want. Hey, was there anything else? Yeah, I totally get that. But was there anything else that was bothering you? Was there anything else that was kind of holding you back? And you'll get the real answer the second time, most of the time with those objections. And then you can slowly handle it. So I hope those things helped. Those are a lot of things that I've learned over time. If you guys have questions, feel free to message me. I know I went a little over, but thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Great. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thanks very much, Melissa. Some really good reminders. You know, to kind of summarize, I think that it's all about reminding them why you think that they should do it. I think it also has to do with the fact that you want to get them to show up early so you can get to know them better, show them excitement, and of course pop fear bubbles by handling objections professionally and properly. And if you can handle that, you're really going to crush it, no doubt, as you move forward. So very good, and thank you for prepping and putting together a great message. By the way, I'd love for you to record yourself doing a confirmation call, and maybe we can get that out to everybody as well so they can hear kind of a live role play. That'd be pretty sweet. Cool. Well, let's dive in. And the next section is the Video Training Leaders Guide. By the way, all of you need one of these because this is the brand new version that is updated and matches the version from Drew. So if you guys want to take one of those of you that are on Zoom, you can check your email. It's in there. I'll be pulling it up and reviewing it with you as well. And then, of course, those of you that are running offices, you want to print one of these and use it for your training class tomorrow and your big dance as we move forward. I love training. Holy crap. And I think that that's the first thing I always say when I open up training. I let people know that I love this part of my job. If I could do one thing every day, it would be to train people. I love celebrating other people's success. I love watching people go from super nervous and anxious and worried about if they should even do it to going out there and proving mom and dad wrong and making a ton more money than their family. And when I think about when it comes to recruiting, we put so much effort, so much time, so much energy into just convincing people that they should come to the office in the first place and give the job a shot. So it only makes sense for you to deliver at your absolute best when it comes to this training. You know, when we used to actually physically run training, I used to say that I felt like I had been on a marathon. At the end of the day, if I didn't go home exhausted, I didn't put enough into training. And I want to remind everybody that the same thing should be true even with the videos. You might be doing less talking, but you should be animated, you should be engaged, you should be present, and at the end of the day, you should be tired. Now, I want to remind everybody that Drew does not run your training. You run your training with the tool of the video. And I think it's really important that you understand that difference as you go through it. So let's talk about a few key components when it comes to properly proctoring the videos and properly delivering the information and content. You know, the first two things I'd write down at the top of this script or in your notes is energy and culture. Everything begins in the first hour of training for the rest of the rep's career. What is your office made of? What is your office known for? What is your office going after? What is the vision? Why are you here? And what are you building? And how do they fit into that, right? You need to make them feel like they're part of your team in the first hour, or a part of your family, a part of your community, whatever you want to call that word, but get people plugged in, get them tied in. And that doesn't happen by just sitting. That happens by standing. That happens by taking the position of confidence, of strength, of being at the front of the room, right? And getting people plugged in, writing on the board, instructing what to write down in their notes, right? And letting them know that they are going to be a huge part of our success as we move forward. It's not just plugging them into your own team, it's also plugging them into the division, right? You know, it's about making sure you do the extras the right way, like the food, the music, the welcome, setting the tone, right? It's about learning how to properly introduce the videos as not videos, but live training. It's about learning how to make sure you build the value in the training. You know, I always like to say that I could say everything in these videos word for word, but it wouldn't come across the same way. These are the best videos we've ever had. And I've got no sympathy because I sat through 3 days of 8 hours of training in hard metal chairs. Yours are only 2 days for about 5.5 to 6 hours apiece. And our reps are selling more and making more right off the bat than any other type of training that we run. But how much, the first question that you should ask yourself for this leader's guide and for proctoring is how much belief do you have in the fact that it will work? How much belief do you have in the fact that it will work? How much belief do you have in the program? How much belief do you have in the videos? We have tons of dramatic success. You know, Maritza, who's running Drew's office, ran the new videos for the first time, and they sold 4 Homemaker Plus 8s in the first 24 hours. I already told the story about Brandon's office, right? Or Brandon's first experience with this. But it's about setting the expectations. Well, it's not wrong. So here's the deal. Pretty exciting. I also think about how and when to pause and tell stories, but also how many stories are too much. And I think about what makes a great proctor. Knowing your examples, knowing your stories, knowing your content, and knowing your key areas. So we're going to go through this real quick. That way you guys can look over it, you can understand it better, and really get some good value from it. To begin, though, I want you to write down what makes a great proctor. What makes a great proctor? And I've really fundamentally broken this down into just 3 categories for you. If you want to be a great proctor, the first thing is energy. You have to be on fire the entire way through, 100% of the time, all in. You need to be acting as if you are running this thing word for word. You need to be acting as if you're delivering the content with the same level of intensity and energy that both Drew and Wes have. Now, although the content is really straightforward in the videos, I don't feel like the energy flows through the videos. So you have to be that energy for them. You have to be picking them up, paying attention, being present, and making sure you're in the know. So how much energy are you bringing in? By the way, for those of you running training tomorrow, what kind of energy do you have before you go in? How much did you sleep the night before? Did you exercise that morning? My best trainings are the mornings that I've already run or gone to the gym, right? I also consider this for your training mornings, right? Have you eaten before training starts? Have you drank enough water? Are you fulfilled, and are you there prepared and ready to rock 1 hour early? And as a reminder, for reps, we say 15 minutes early for any event, right? That's vector time. For managers, it's an hour. If you ever have an interview, being at your office an hour before it starts. If you ever have a training, being at your office an hour before it begins, right? And really making sure that you're mentally and emotionally present and focused as you move forward. Cool? So the second thing you can write down that makes a great proctor is asking a lot of questions. Questions that might be rhetorical, but also questions that set buying expectation. It's not a question of if they're going to sell Cutco. It's a question of how much. It's not a question of if they're going to hit a promotion. It's a question of how quick. It's not a question of if they're going to make their sale on their very first demo. It's a question of how big will that sale be. And by the way, a very powerful quote I learned from Anthony Robbins is that higher quality questions yield higher quality results. And if you want to level up and raise the standards in your life, then you need to raise the standard of the question that you're asking yourself. How many of us have made the mistake before of asking weak questions on the phone approach and then not booking a demo because of it? Hey, can you help me out? So Miss Jones, would you be available this weekend? Versus following the script word for word and saying, I'm really excited about showing you this stuff and I'm in a contest. I've got to get 10 demos done by Monday. Is there any way you can squeeze me in later tomorrow around 4 or would 6 work better, right? Always asking for that choice of 2 times. I want you to introduce things by asking questions. I want you to ask questions about how they're feeling about training so far. If they're learning, I want you to ask questions about what they've gained so far, or ask questions about what they just learned. You know, one of my favorite things is to pause at the end of every section and say, great guys, go ahead and stand up. Let's stretch in place. We're going to do a quick review of what we just covered. What do we learn from that section? What do we gain? What do we know we ought to do? And what are the things we need to avoid? Good. Yeah, I like that. Thanks so much for sharing. Hey, thank you for getting involved, Rachel. I really, really appreciate that. By the way, Rachel just smiled the moment I said that. She didn't even know what I was thanking her for, but it's amazing how if you use somebody's name and you appreciate them authentically and genuinely, how much more plugged in they are. If you notice people are nodding off or getting distracted with their phones, right? Engage them. Use their name, right? Who's been that person before in class, in grade school? I did that in middle school, right? And you were doing something that you shouldn't be doing. You were distracted. And then your teacher says, so what's the answer to that, Brandon? And you're like, I mean, what you said for sure, right? And you're just like not into it and you're totally caught off. The moment that happens once, you don't make that mistake again in that class, right? So don't be afraid to call people out professionally if they're not engaged and do it in a public setting, right? That's another thing. So what are you doing to utilize questions to stimulate people's thinking and help them get the point across, right? And the third and final thing that happens to be a tip of a great proctor is telling lots of stories. But making sure that your stories are effective, making sure that your stories are powerful, and making sure that your stories are at the right time and place. Too many stories could be a bad thing. Too much detail in a story could be a bad thing. It's got to flow and it's got to be quick and smooth. And your stories need to have a point to them. Either hitting a point home that was already in the video or making sure that you explain something about what you don't want, right? And telling a story about reps that have made that mistake and where it got them. So let's dive into the actual content in the leader's guide, right? On the beginning, at the beginning, it talks about preparation. We just covered confirmation calls, the importance of having lots of names, making sure you have a sign-in sheet, making sure they fill out that sign-in sheet, and of course, making sure that they actually fill out how many names they have. Something I want you to write down at the very beginning with preparation is you need help. You need what? Help. Running your office by yourself does not work. You need help. Now, what happens if I'm Daniel and I just open up my office and this is my first training class? Then I pick my sharpest rep set for training that I'm pretty confident is going to show up, and I ask them to show up early so that they can help. They're my first they're my first sign-in. Then I teach them how to do the rope, and they become the rope cutter with the rest of the people that come in. Pretty simple, right? Employ people, promote people, get them excited about helping out. And then once you have a couple of reps on your team, have somebody be there for the first couple hours of training. Have somebody be there for the second couple hours and go and get the food for food cutting. Have somebody be there at the end of it to go and get some pizza. I mean, we're not asking for something that takes a lot of intelligence or a lot of training to get done, but you need help, right? Those also become stop-bys for you as you go through. And making sure that you really promote the importance and value of showing up early. My number one reason on why I want you to show up early is because I want to get to know you better. I want to talk to you more about the opportunity because I really have big plans for you. It's one of my favorite things to tell people over the phone is, hey, you don't know it yet, but I've got really big plans for you, and I can't wait for your future and what it looks like. So, and then I can go into whatever I'm talking about, right? So how often are you saying that? How often are you sharing with people your energy and excitement for them as you move forward? The office setup is critical. I want you to write down in your notes that if it's not on the walls, you're not going to talk about it. If it's not on the walls, you're not going to talk about it. So do you have your first promotion, first weekend poster up? Are you sharing that power? And if you're a new manager, or this is a new year, or maybe you're a veteran and you don't have that already established in your office, use somebody else's. Take a photo of it and share it. Or just promote the fact that it's blank and you can't wait to fill it with names. Do you have a 10K fast starter wall with the Have a Fast Start poster at the top? Do you have examples? Do you have the circle and the breakdown, right, of the pie chart in the first 3 days, the next 4, and the last 3? You can get plenty of those examples of 10K fast starters from all over the Southwest region from the region office. They'll send them to you. Do you have big paychecks? I love this right in front of our room. We have over on our wall, number 1 through 10, our biggest paychecks we paid out. And honestly, we probably need to update that with some new ones because I don't think it's accurate. But it's so easy to look over and say, hey, here's some examples of top reps, right, that are CSPs. And then here's some examples of reps in their first weekend or their second week, right? And do you have those examples? Dirty 30 promotion board. Do you have a clean, beautiful, and organized Cutco display? I think about in our office over here, we've got these shelves. I'm constantly cleaning them off. There's examples, and I own all of that Cutco. By the way, set up a contest with your manager immediately to get more Cutco for yourself so that when you open up, you can show it off. Veteran managers, hey, use your 1/3 discount. Don't forget you have until the end of the year to use the rest of it, and you get a certain amount every year worth of retail price that you can order at a third, right? What are the missing pieces? You know, one of the big things is if you don't have the Fast Start prizes, you definitely want to have all the Fast Start prizes. And those of you who are opening a branch office that didn't have the big Fast Start, guess what? When you open up, the company will take it out of your startup at only 10%. That's better than the discount that we get, right? And all the missing pieces out of your Fast Start, you get to order at a 10% cut. It's awesome. That way you have one of every single Fast Start piece that we have to show up, to pass around, and to be able to have people look at. It's pretty sweet, right? You know, can you get a block, even if it's not fully filled, so that way you can show what the size of an ultimate or a signature block can look like? Do you have examples of trophies and awards? And do you have your mission statement clear and visible so you can talk about it a bunch, right? Especially the 5 strategic anchors of the division, right? It talks about supplies, making sure that you have all that prepped in advance. Talks about making sure that you have all of your necessary literature. It takes about a week to get. So that's one more reminder for veterans. Have you ordered your literature yet? And do you have that coming for the big dance? For sure. And then also making sure you have a plan for refreshments. You know, I love having snacks. I personally go to Costco. I'll blow 30 to 40 bucks on these boxes that have like 50 granola bars. And then we keep them in our cabinet. And I have a bowl that we just pass down. And it's amazing to watch people's energy when they just start eating something, their focus, their presence, right? And eliminating their distractions. Things like making sure you have pizza for the first night. You know, it's $5-6 at Little Caesars. Come on. Right? District managers, don't forget, you get a $25 recruiting bonus for anybody you contract and launch. You know, that pays for a lot of supplies. Bagels or donuts in the morning on day 2, making sure you have plenty of water, you know, either getting a water machine, right? And having people bring water bottles and having cups, or if you don't have that, having the water bottles, right? And please, please, please recycle. Those of you in the Edmond office, we have a recycling bin back there. No more throwing away plastic. No more throwing away aluminum. No more throwing away cardboard. If you catch it and you see it in a trash can, throw it in there. I'll take it home and I'll recycle it, right? But that needs to become a commitment for us for sure. So if you flip the page, we're going to relationships. Let's talk about this. It talks about the keys to video training. It's all about great relationships and connection, filling out the welcome sheet, and making sure that you don't start training until you have a connection with everybody in training. This is why in the summer, when we have 30 and 40 and 50 person training groups, right? The most I've ever launched in 1 week that I can remember is 48 people. It is insane giving out 48 blue books. That is over 2 full boxes. It is insane giving out 48 sample kits, right? That is a total of over 6 boxes of sample kits, right? It's nuts, but it's fun, and you need help because there's no way you can make an intimate connection with everybody there. Figuring out who vibes, right? And making sure that you're early to training and you stay in the room, right? My goal is not to be the person who's signing them for training. My goal is to be the person who's connecting with them before training and having somebody else do the sign-ins. Cool? So let's dive into day 1. It's all about your stump speech. How good is your first 15 to 20 minutes? How good is your personal story? Talking about things like who you are, what your title is and what you're responsible for. Do you know? If I'm a district manager, not a division manager, my title is not much different than the division managers. My number one goal is to run a top-level office, and we are competing to be blank. My number two goal is to develop more managers. Right now, we need more leaders and we need more people because we are a mega district office and we're putting out new managers year after year. In fact, this year, we want to deploy blank amount of people, and the first step to that is getting them into our Management and Leadership Academy. And my third goal is to develop top-level events reps. We have so many events around the nation, right? And obviously, I don't have the time to role play all of that right now, but I want to make sure your promotion of that is effective, right? Your job is to recruit, train, and develop the next wave of top-level people for our company in the Great Plains division, right? And that's true if you're a branch manager as well. I think it's important you talk about your personal story. You know, having a little bit of examples and stories about where you heard about the job, what you've done before working here, how you felt or how your parents felt before it started, right? What it was like going through your first training, what your first demo was like, how many demos it took to make your first sale. And you know what? If you got off to a great start, you should say this phrase: I'm so grateful that I followed the program because by doing such, it got me off to a great start. And I don't think I'd be here later if I hadn't have gotten off to a great start. If you're the opposite of that, having the phrase of saying, man, now looking back on it, I never would have struggled as much if I just would have committed to the program. You know, the bottom line is I didn't follow what I was taught because of X, Y, Z, and it really held me back. And I'm so glad that the managers didn't give up on me. In fact, that's something I want you guys to know is I'm never going to give up on you, so don't give up on yourself. In a business like this, even if you don't have confidence, even if you're not getting results, what I loved about our culture is they didn't give up on me. They kept working with me. They kept coaching me. They kept believing in me. In fact, in many ways, my manager believed more in me than I believed in myself. And because of that, when I finally broke through, it made my success so much sweeter when I actually hit it. But always having a way to spin it in a positive light. Does that make sense? No matter what. With your story, talking about what it took to get into management, what it took to take that first step, and how grateful you are that you are in that position now. And then, of course, just bragging on the job, what you love about it, what you're excited about for the future, what you're building towards, and why they're going to be a big part of it. I want you to write down in your notes right now, the whole objective of your opening comments before the videos begin is to build their confidence. But you need to build their confidence in 3 fundamental areas. The first place you need to build their confidence in is you. Because if I'm not confident in who's coaching or training me, there's no way that I'm going to want to work for that team or that I'm going to work for that manager. So is your opening comments compelling enough for why they should listen to you? You're not sitting there bragging about yourself the whole time, but you're definitely talking about your accomplishments, your accolades, your experiences, and who you've produced in the past. Part of that is also reminding yourself that you are qualified to properly train these people because of what you have accomplished in the past. But if you don't believe in you, they're not going to believe in you either. The second thing you need to build confidence in is the program. Building confidence in the fact that the program works if you follow the program, but you have to follow the program. Building confidence in the fact that it's simple, and building confidence in the fact that it doesn't matter what background they came from, what they have done or have not done for work prior to this. Anybody can succeed with Vector if they just think positive, work hard, and communicate well. Confidence in the program. It works, but you got to follow it. Not being afraid to let them know that we've had people try the job before that didn't follow the program, and all of those people have failed here. The difference between a great rep and you is the fact that they have done it longer, so they're better at it, and they love Cutco more because they've used it longer. So buy your kit and do a lot of demos. You'll be fine. Right? Simple phrases like that. And the third and final thing you need to build confidence in is their future. Build confidence in the fact that they can do it. Build confidence in the fact that they can hit promotions quickly. Build confidence in the fact that people are going to buy Cutco from them and that Cutco is very affordable. So again, your whole objective of that first 15 to 30 minutes of your opening comments and stories is all about building confidence in you, building confidence in the program, and building confidence in their future. Then you're going to talk about welcoming them to the team, brag on your DVM. How good are you at building me up? I just hit my $15 million milestone, by the way, as of last week. So I've got less than a $5 million countdown to knock out Hall of Fame with a corporation. Pretty fired up about that. 5 million next year and I hit it. So don't suck. I'm just kidding. But here's the deal, right? You should be bragging about that. You should talk about how these programs were developed with my help. It's not like this is just, oh, Drew's a cool guy and he gets good results, so let's copy him. Like, I've been here for the entire journey of Drew, right? So talk about how we've mastered this. We know it works. Build me up. For saying phrases like, I can't wait for you guys to be introduced and meet our division manager really go a long way. Not just talking about your office goals, but talking about how your office goals plug into the division goals. I always like to share our team name. I always like to share our team chant. I always like to start big and go small. What I mean by that is saying, hey guys, here's our goal for the year. And in order to get there, here's our goal for the campaign. And in order to get there, here's what we need to produce for the month. And in order to do that, we need to knock out blank this week. And you guys are going to be a big part of that. And because we're going to knock out those goals, that's going to help our division grow by over $1 million and eclipse over $3 million this year. Our mission is for the next 3 years to grow by $1 million every year. And I know that every time I run training, the reason I get so fired up is I never know who I'm training, because everybody in our company started exactly where you're at. I could be training my next district manager, our next events team coordinator. Heck, I could be training the next division manager or CEO of the company, because not one person in our corporation started anywhere different than where you're at right here, right now. So I hope you're fired up about that. I hope you're thinking big. Are you saying, and do you have that kind of opening comments and excitement for their future? Talking about what your job is. Your job is to make sure that you support them. Communication and bragging about the importance of that. And talking about your rules. There's a few fundamentals that you might want to jot down that I always like to review, but I talk about how I'll never judge them on results. I judge them on work ethic, and I'll explain that. I judge them on attitude, and I'll explain that. And I judge them on great communication. So if you can work hard, stay positive, and communicate well, you'll always be one of my favorite reps. But if you're lazy, or you're always negative, or you end up not calling me, that's an easy way to get fired with a position like ours. And I'm not afraid to state that right off the beginning and right off the bat. That being said, by the way, I then jump into, right, a little bit more about the videos. I talk about what we're going to do for the day. Not the full review of what we're going to cover in training, but I talk about what we're going to cover on the videos, right? How the day is going to break down. We're going to do a lot of pausing. We're going to do a lot of interaction. We're going to do some role playing. And then you'll have a full hour at the end to make phone calls and book up some demos. My mission is for every one of you to make $100 by Monday. Many of you want to make more. Does anybody want to make more? I love asking questions with that, getting people to participate, getting them excited about things, right? And then, of course, the importance of making sure that we talk about snacks coming up at the end and how I want everybody to have 5 demos booked before they leave. And I'll ask the question until I get the response, right? I'll ask the question of, so how many demos do you want to have booked before you leave? And one person will respond just like that. And then I'll say, cool, guys, let's try that one again. So how many demos do you need to have booked before you leave?
5.
Perfect. Thanks so much for getting involved. I really appreciate it. By the way, what you put in is what you get out. And I'm not afraid to repeat the question 3, 4, 5 times until I get the response I want. Remember, you are creating expectancy and culture from everything you do in that first 20 to 30 minutes before the training begins. So be confident, be present, be engaged, be energized, right? And really build it up. My question to you is, are you building momentum into those videos? Or are you taking momentum away before you start them? Which one are you going into it with, right? That being said, promoting the videos, right? If we read over this right here, it says video training introduction. I'm so excited that you're on the team and helping us succeed. But more importantly, I'm so excited for you to get the full experience, growth, and financial opportunity that myself and so many others have received. We believe that our training is one of the biggest reasons to why our reps succeed at such a high level. And we can take a person with no sales experience, sometimes no experience at all, and make them successful. We want to give you the best. So that being said, I've paid a lot of money to use these videos, and we have the #1 and #2 managers in the company doing your training. They're brothers, Wes and Drew Frank. Yes, they are brothers. Wes is the division manager of Rising Sun and the headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, and his office has had 5 straight years of over $2 million in sales, probably somebody we should listen to. He also has 12 other offices that have ever had over 12 other years that they've done over, 12 other offices, only 12 other offices have done $2 million in the company. Drew Frank is the division manager of Rocky Mountain and headquarters in Denver. Drew has won more national championships than any manager in company history, 21 total. And his office won 6 silver cups for the being best overall office in the corporation with an annual sales record. His office has done over $3 million in sales 4 years in a row. And remember, $2 million is rare. So this is where you can add your own personal talk about them. I've met them. They're awesome. They know what they're talking about. Almost everything has been changed because of them. So you're going to watch the videos. I'm going to watch them with you. This is not movie. This is not TV. This is training. You should be taking notes, getting engaged, answering questions out loud, and participating fully, right? If anybody needs something to write on or with, raise your hand. I'll help you out. But seriously, if this were TV, I would have shot you the link, asked you to watch it late at night instead of Netflix, binge watch it, and call me to let me know what you think. But this is not that way. What you put in is what you get out. So do you understand why we're going to be doing this? Do you understand why it's intense? If you have any questions, don't be afraid to talk over the videos. I'll be talking over the videos, but please, guys, stay engaged and let's get going. Drew's going to start off with the opening comments and the expectations, one of my favorite parts of training. Let's get it started, and then we press play. It is so important that you properly introduce the videos and set the tone and the expectation for the fact that this is live training, not actual video training. That being said, it talks about opening comments, right? Depending on the size of group, you can do a round of introductions at that point if you want to. Hey guys, real quick before we dive into the videos, I'd love for us to get to know each other better. So since there's only 4 of us here right now, I'd like you to talk about your name, right? What school you go to, what you're most excited and motivated by, and then an interesting fact. And boom, boom, boom. All right, 1 clap, and then we can jump in, right? If you have a bigger group, I always like to start the training by talking about, hey, we don't like to train with strangers. Before we jump in, I want everybody to go ahead and meet at least 2 other people and find out 1 interesting fact. And then I'll have everybody share, and I'll say, great. So Olivia, who'd you meet? Awesome. What'd you learn? Okay, great. We're going to give them a 1 clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. We're all going to clap at the same time. By the way, if you blow this and you fail at it, then you're fired. And this is the shortest job you've ever had. So here we go. Ready? All together. 1, 2. Oh, you're fired. I'm sorry. You're out. That sucks. You should have been better at listening. I'm just kidding, by the way. Let's try that again, though. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good. Everybody claps and we rock it. Having fun, showing them that you're a person, showing them that you are somebody who's vulnerable, that you joke around, you make mistakes. It's okay. Just like in training, right? We tell reps that the reason that people are going to buy Cutco is not because you did a flawless demo. It's because it's a great product. Well, guys, the reason that people are going to succeed at this job is not because you did a flawless training. It's because you use the videos and you believe that they should. Reps sell because they feel good. They have people to call and they have a plan. It doesn't get more simple than that. So diving into day 1 in the opening comments, right? Making sure that you dive in and talk about pausing and promoting, first promo, first weekend, writing that on the board, the 10K fast starters, working twice as hard in the first week, the best 5 customers, right? And making sure you have any additional office rules like 15 minutes early and the 2-week rule. In fact, if you haven't written that down right here, write that down, the 2-week rule. I am so intense with this that here's the deal. I need a verbal commitment to everybody that you're going to give this job a shot for at least 2 weeks. And I go into detail on why. The worst thing that happens by giving a shot for 2 weeks is you get amazing training from a multi-million-dollar corporation that's very well known that will look extremely impressive on your resume. You learn a lot about life and selling, which you're going to need for the rest of your life anyway. You already plan to be here, so why would you quit? Not to mention, you're going to get paid to go out there with family and friends and show them a pretty cool product. And by the way, it's the holiday break. You're going to be hanging out with family and friends anyway. You may as well get paid for it. In fact, even if you suck, we pay you. So why would you not do it? And then, of course, you're also going to get the opportunity to get networking experience and give the job a shot. At the end of it all, the worst thing that happens is you get great training, you make some good money, you get to hang out with family and friends, and you find out the job's not your thing. But your resume looks 10 times better. You're a lot more experienced and confident to get a better job in the future. You might cut yourself. That could be bad. But other than that, what do you have to lose? I mean, other than a finger, right? All right, cool. So here's the deal, guys. Let's just make sure we commit to 2 weeks. Not to mention a normal hourly job, you have to give them a what?
2 weeks notice.
2 weeks notice. So if you're unsure about this job, cool. Well, we're a little bit unsure about it too, but we're at least giving you a shot. Don't you think you should do the same? So give it 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, if you don't like it, the worst thing that will happen is we'll give you a high five, we'll cut you your last paycheck. And because I know you tried it and you're an honest, authentic rep, I'll be able to write you a letter of recommendation for any job you want to do in the future. But if you don't work for me for at least 2 weeks, I don't know you well enough, and there's no way that I can write you that. Does that sound fair? So can I ask for the verbal commitment? Can everybody give me 2 weeks no matter what? Yes or yes. And I look at them and I point at them and I'm very intense with them. And by the way, I have one of the highest launch percentages out of any of the managers out there. Last week, 100% launch. Even the kid I didn't think was going to launch launched and then sold a gourmet set. Believing in people and not being afraid to be honest. The Cutco demo. Pause and promote the importance of food cutting. That it's simple as read, cut, smile, sell. Talking about the virtual demo. Not being afraid to pause. Making it interactive. Passing around things like the junk knives. Making the faces. Telling the stories. Being entertaining with it, right? Having really good junk knife examples that are nasty and gross. Are you really getting them bought in to how we're fixing the solution to the problem? Day 1, part 2. After we've talked about that, I would pause. It says 5-minute stretch break. That's also where you pause and you say, cool guys, let me quiz you real quick. And ask simple questions. So Cutco's been around since what year? All right, cool. That's great. And by the way, all of our products are handmade in America in our upstate factory in what? Olean. You guys in New York, I like that too. But yeah, look how fast you guys, and we're building confidence. Look how fast you guys are picking this up. The first demonstration we do is we use the what? That's right. And we cut the what? That's right. And the second thing we do is what? The peeler. And that's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to get to use one in a sec. By the way, we're going to create junk knives and a problem. We're going to talk about crappy knives. What kind of faces you have to put on? You have to put on 2. Then we're going to offer the solution with our product. Again, the questions you ask aren't that important, but it's just that interaction, right? And it breaks up the monotony of just having video after video after video. Think about it. 4 hours of straight video, even if it's entertaining like Netflix, you're a zombie. So you need to make sure that there's breaking that up and having a little bit more fun as you get those high fives. Then we dive into the names and uses. And it's up to you. But if you want to use the videos, that's great, especially if you're a newer manager and you're building confidence. Personally, I believe names and uses is the most important part to do physically in person. So I make sure that we have tons of food to cut. I make sure that the food is present, and I make sure that we cut it in front of them, and I tell all the stories. That being said, I've been doing this for a very long time. So if you're not confident that you can nail price and value enhancement and food cutting with the group, then use the videos and cut with them. But again, there's got to be food cutting. Then you jump into value and competitive cutlery. And by the way, after we cut the food, we do a little bit of role playing. After the role playing, we do a little bit of food cutting, and that's when we take our 5-minute break. So it's a little bit different than what this Proctor guide says, but that's up to you. Then we dive into day 1 and part 3. And I want to remind you that there are very important phrases, things like best 5, things like 5 before and 5 after, things like it doesn't matter what set you sell, what matters you sell a set. Things like saying, by the way, products for the home don't cost hundreds, they cost what? Thousands of dollars, giving examples, telling stories, sharing that. By the way, the average roof for a house is like 20 grand. And people are getting new roofs all the time. In fact, today I was annoyed because there was a bunch of hammering going on outside of our office because somebody was getting a new roof. Right? All the time. This is normal if you're a homeowner, okay? And explaining that difference, right? And then day 1, part 3, really hitting hard on the closing, right? As we look at that, really making sure that with that closing, I know we don't have it on there anymore, but in the past with the closing, really making sure that you get the wow effect. When that number is said by Wes Frank, right? And he says the price of the homemaker is, right? And then the drum roll, $13.26. You want that wow and awe effect. You want people looking around being like, no way, that's it? Dude. And they're getting pumped. If you're not getting that effect, that means you're not proctoring the videos right? And prior to that, they should also have the attitude of freaking out that it's $4 grand and writing that on the board like, I even had one time, and not to the effect where you scare them, but I had one time where a kid went to the bathroom. That's what he said. He was not going to the bathroom, by the way. You know what he was doing? He was leaving. Because he thought that it actually cost $4 grand. That's how much I had him bought into that. And I had to chase him down the hallway and say, dude, what are you leaving for? And he's like, none of my family can afford $4 grand. And I said, I didn't say it was $4 grand. He's like, yeah, you did. I said, no, logically, that's what it would be. The price is way less, dude. Why don't you stick around for 30 more minutes? He came back in and he was shocked and then blew up his first week and knocked out 2 can orders. Does that make sense? That's the kind of effect I want to have. Cool? And then, of course, if you want to, you can do the whole parent right? Or sorry, not parent, household versus student income example and the difference between the two, right? Thinking about $13.26 to a relative or one of your family members that owns a house, dude, that's like $75 to you as a student. You guys have bought concert tickets that cost more than that. Talking about how $289 on a 5-pay for them is like $15 to you. How often do you lose $15 or spend $15 and not even think about it? And I explain that and I share that, right? And then we dive into the next step, which has to do with names list. This is a working part of training, providing them with the space and the time to brainstorm and write down names, complimenting, walking around saying, great job, keep going. Dude, bust out your phone. Hey, you've got more than that. I know you just got a new phone and your contacts are limited. That's why we're going to go onto your social media account. Which one do you use the most? Awesome. Go into that and go through your contacts. You're going to have so many more. I'm so fired up for you. Making sure that nobody stops writing and they keep writing, right, is absolutely critical and essential. And of course, the scheduling goals, the phone approach, providing plenty of time for the phone jam. And once again, nobody succeeds alone. You can't be doing these day 2 PCs while the phone jam is happening without somebody running it. You need one of your top reps running the phone jam. And if you don't have any staff because you're a brand new manager, perfect. Invite your top rep in and have them make a phone jam, right? And coach everybody with tallies on the board, giving high fives, and setting the expectation. 10% of you are going to have terrible luck, 80% are going to have solid luck, and 10% are going to get your really good luck. But it doesn't matter. After every bad phone time is a great phone time. That's why we have 3 waves, 1 in training, 1 when you go home, and 1 tomorrow morning to set you up for success and have 10 demos booked before you leave, right? There's some tips on the phone jam and how to properly get that done. There's assignments, and then, of course, the day 1 holdback and check-in for PDI. Please put a big star next to check-in for PDI. This is something that's really easy to skip, but is absolutely critical to drive more demos. And now that the videos have moved the Fast Start prizes from day 1 to day 2, you can incentivize people by getting to 10 demos or booking 2 more, whichever happens first, and then texting you. And then you can call them, have a quick conversation, motivate them to get back on the phone and keep making calls, and tease them a little bit with some of the prizes, right? Hey, what was your favorite thing you used today? Cool. What if I told you you could win that and a bunch of other Cutco for free in your Fast Start? Dude, trust me, when you learn about it tomorrow, you are definitely going to want to have 10 demos. So it's totally worth getting back on the phone and making a few more calls, right? All right, cool. That's day 1. Day 2, by the way, is very simple. I always like to promote the day 1's the heavy lifting, day 2's the fun. Showing up early, making extra phone calls, making sure that we get all that stuff knocked out early, and the day 2 breakfast, right? Not being afraid to use the 5 keys to having a big Fast Start and challenging your top 20% to go big for their Fast Start and why it matters. Introducing day 2 in the videos about success being a choice before you click play, and then, of course, clicking play. By the way, Drew does a little bit of that, but you should do it too. He also reviews the sales rep agreement, the sample kit agreement right at the beginning. Fast Start has actually been moved after dropping down, so I'll make sure he knows to change that in the leader's guide. And then, of course, one of the things they talk about is the 20-minute phone jam. It's already baked into the videos, so giving them permission to have all that contract stuff out of the way, all the sample agreement stuff out of the way, and then they can effectively actually just make 20 minutes of phone calls to book more demos. I like to use 2 different colors when I use the whiteboard. The first color is the first night. The second color, right, is how many they booked the night of. And then the last color is how many they booked that day. That way you can start to really visualize how many came first night, how many came after they left training, and how many came the next day they walked in, right? And start to really study where are your demos coming from and where can you improve your program. Cool? Last few things here, guys. The virtual demo, right? Really promoting the heck out of that. Being present for recommendations. When it comes to recommendations, one thing that I wrote down for recommendations was the importance of making sure that you give them their spiral notebook. And, and I forgot, for the dropping down section, I forgot that part. Guys, it's so critical when it comes down to the dropping down that you give them their spiral notebook and you give them permission to pause and write down the prices. That way they're getting practice and they're doing it during the video. You'll see all these instructions of stopping the video, writing down the prices, promoting it, stopping the video, writing down prices, promoting it, explaining examples, right? All the way through the drop down and all the way through selling bigger sets. All right, now on to recommendations, right? They already have their spiral notebook. So with recommendations, making sure that you give them permission to duplicate that rec outline in the binder so they have multiple sheets already filled out for their first demo. And then, of course, typing in the customer text into their phone so that it's already saved in the notes. So on your demos, you can just copy and paste and have them forward that out to their family. Really, really important. The PR program is probably the most important part of day 2. And this is where you really need them get them bought into your vision again, get them to bought into why the PR program works and why they should want all their friends to know about it. I always really do a big stump speech here, and I talk about how I'm 100% okay with people not being interested in the job, but I'm 100% not okay with people either A, not knowing the job exists, or B, not really understanding what the job is, right? And really getting people tied in and bought into that for sure. We talked about the Fast Start upgrade program and the social media with Snapchat, right? Our goal is to get 125 names collected per person, right? And then have social media on top of that. And then while the last part of day 2 is happening, part 3, I'm scrubbing duplicates. I'm sending to the conveyor. I'm celebrating their phones blowing up. Dude, I noticed a lot of you checking your phones. Are you getting blown up? And without a doubt, they're always like, dude, I'm getting so many questions. Awesome. Don't forget that's a good thing, not a bad thing. That could be guaranteed AirPods or Ray-Ban sunglasses or a $1,000 vacation. High five, way to go. But make sure you don't get distracted. And we're celebrating those things, right? Because we sent them during training, okay? Making sure you cover the schedules, the office communication, the demo review. I love this demo review section because it gives 20 minutes of just music where they can role play with a buddy, or you can do it as a group. The choice is yours. I love going quickly and doing it as a group and trying to beat the time clock, and then Drew doing the pages 8 and 9 and the drop down. It's so much fun. After that, you do the wrap up, talking about what to expect. This is where you can also build in an extra phone jam. They can make a last minute session of phone calls, and you can cover their schedule, reschedule demos, and really set the expectation for how fired up you are for them. And one of the things that I really love that's not built in there, and you can write it down, is book up their first PC. Get their first PC booked, put in the schedule, and get that thing knocked out. Last documents that are on here is the script for how to properly promote 5 before and 5 after. It's a great read. The script about why Best 5 first weekend is so valuable, and the script of also the individual accountability during the phone jam, Best 5 customers, and how to create a comfortable environment. Guys, this is over a decade of work and programs that are put together by Drew. And I can tell you that everything you ever need to know is built in, but it's about your confidence with the program and about how to properly deliver the content because, again, you run the training, not the actual video. Make sense? You just use the video to enhance it. So if you want to know my last 5 tips to the key areas, they are the following. Number 1, names list and making sure that they work on mission 100. Number 2, phone jam management and making sure that you've got people helping you run the phone jam and driving those demos so they're not sitting around just hoping that they book demos. Number 3 is assignment expectation and early to day 2, right? And the check-in that night, driving more demos and dropping some of the hints for the fast start. Number 3 is the best 5 focus, first demo, first sale, best 2 first night, best 5 first weekend, and 10 demos booked before you leave. Again, 1, 2, 5, 10. First demo, first sale, best 2 first night, best 5 first weekend, and 10 demos booked before you leave. And the last one is confidence in the product, the fast start goal, and the effort needed to go after it. Confidence in you and confidence in your vision for the organization. Cool. Went a couple minutes over, but I hope that that was valuable and great content. I'm so glad that was on recording because I need to listen to those hints as we move forward and continue to perfect our ability to deliver great training. So, questions, concerns, comments? We're good about that? All right, everybody stand up real quick where you're at. Take a quick stretch break. What we're going to do is introduce Bailey Homan. Bailey is here to discuss and cover how to do great first weekend follow-up on PDI and how to drive expectations and how fast start, everything is fixed in Advanced Training 1. We've got a great script called First Weekend PDI. Many of you have seen it before, but we want to review how to properly deliver it and properly promote it as we move forward. So I'm going to pull it over here on the PowerPoint. Bailey Homan is our division office manager. In the past, for 2 years, helped this office go from $900 to $1.5 to $1.8 million. Really raised the bar of what it meant to be a great pilot. And then earlier this year in 2019, got promoted to run his own district office down in Norman. In his first summer, got very close to $100,000. Now looking to sell over $100,000 in the month of January alone to really level it up. And what's exciting is that Bailey has traveled the world with the company. Prior to this job, hadn't even been on a plane, and now has flown to multiple international countries, has got lots of stamps in his passport, and is somebody who is just passionate, energetic, and fired up to coach people to success and get them the result that they want. So, Bailey, I'm going to go ahead and pin your video. Not that it really matters. And whenever you're ready to start talking about the script, I will go ahead and pull it up, and you'll be ready to rock. Floor is yours, sir.
Cool.
Give him a big round of applause. Great job.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you good.
Beautiful. I was gonna say I can pull it up on my end. That's why there's two on here so that you're able to see everything.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to?
Either way, I just figured since to soundtrack, doesn't matter. Whatever's easier.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll pull it up just because we've got the document here. And then you can go through it, and I'll follow along with you. So take it away.
Beautiful. Awesome, guys. So the first thing that you guys can write down for first weekend PDI is it's all about relationships. This is also now where you're going to put everything that we just talked about, that we proctored and were trained. We've got them all the training the right way, but now here's where not only they're going to make money, but you're about to make money. Everything we've done now is preparation to set them up for success. And setting this up in the first weekend is when you're talking about your office communication guidelines. This is a great document to go over. But the office communication guidelines is where you're going to set the expectation that they need to call you before, during, and after every single appointment. Just like Melissa talked about, is what is your expectation for them to talk to you? Their first weekend is the most important weekend of their entire career. This is what's going to make or break them and make sure that they are part of the organization and part of the culture, is because of their first weekend PDI and what's going on. So just to be clear, raise your hand if your first weekend you talk to your manager before, during, and after almost every one of your appointments. Yeah, and guess who's on here right now is every single one of you guys. So you know how to follow the program. That's why you guys are leaders. And so as long as we can teach this and implement it properly, then that's how we're going to develop the next layer of assistant managers, those next branch managers, district managers, and what it's to go from. This is a very, very easy or simple process, but it's not necessarily easy. One of the biggest things for me is I am very personable and being able to talk to just about anybody and be relatable. When you're talking to someone, it is about building that passion. It's about building that relationship, and you can't just read off of a script to build that relationship with them. So just because you've got this script in front of you doesn't mean that I'm going to be reading on. It's like, okay, cool. I've got a top rep. When my top rep calls me in, I'm going to read this word for word. That doesn't build any relationship with that person. You've got to, just like Nick talked about, show them that you're a real person. So are you generally talking with them, not just reading what's on the paper? These are all things that need to be implemented, and it's all about the wording that you're using and the words that you're talking about with them to, one, create that passion for them, but two is also just encouragement. The first weekend doesn't matter necessarily about the results. Everything is going to be fixed in advanced training one. But this is all about building building repetition, that they're doing so many more demos and building the experience that they're getting throughout all of it. The more demos they do, the better they're going to get out of it naturally. They just need to do those appointments, and they need you to be that encouragement and that support system for them. So as we go through this document, it's pretty simple. So stay organized, use this system, and take notes. The number one system, and I'd write this down, is Web PDI. It is $60 a month to have absolutely everything that you need. It has every single one of your reps. It tells you your demo goal, their demo goal, what your office is at. It automatically syncs with Vector Connect. So every time they make a sale, it goes right onto there so that you know exactly what you're at for the week. You can also talk about off of this is how many demos you have for the entire week, so that you're able to, one, know where you're at going to be for your sales report and how to implement that. And so that is staying organized. During the call, you should never, just like it talks about, blame, reprimand, show disappointment, or critique over the phone. It's just encouraging them. Almost every single person when they call, they're going to say, hey, so it went great. I didn't make a sale, but it's like, cool. I don't care about the sale. How did you feel about your demo? What did you like the most about it? What did you enjoy the best? What do you feel like you are that you need to work on? What are your questions that you now have throughout all of it? And just being that encouragement. Again, this is ongoing training. That's what the first week in PDI is about, is they're now implementing everything you just taught them, and they're going to have questions. They're not going to necessarily do it right, so helping them out. Your attitude is everything. Energy and passion. If you're on the phone and you just had, a crappy time with someone that wasn't listening or whatever, and you get on, it's like, hello? Yeah. Oh, you didn't make a sale? Great. Well, what did you learn? Okay, great. And you're just going through the motions. It doesn't do anything. So again, are you smiling? Are you actually going to listen to them and help understand what the problem is, but not necessarily fix it? Just show them that encouragement. The objective, just like it says, is to make someone feel good and create action. Cool. Hey, your sale's over. We can't fix it. We can't go back and change it. All we can do is move forward from here. So how many more appointments do you have? Have you talked about 5 before and 5 after? Again, the reason why people don't have demos ahead is because we don't talk about it on PDI, on how many calls did you make. Are you being specific and saying, oh, you haven't made your 5 calls? Cool. Well, I'm going to hang up. Call me back as soon as your 5 calls are done and over with. Again, are you setting the example and are you living what we teach? That's where it comes down to, is helping them on your integrity, and are you doing what you say you're going to be doing. 80-10, 10-80-10 rule. Some get off to the start they want. Some are slow. Treat everyone like a future top rep. I wouldn't be here today if Nick and all the other managers, Austin Fleming at the time, if it wasn't for their encouragement to help me out. I came into advanced training, again, feeling bummed because I had so many appointments, but they weren't the right appointments. But came into advanced training 1 and at least saw the success in that people were selling things, and that built the encouragement for me. One of my favorite stories happened last summer, and it was a girl that I recruited on all the way from, not Ada, it was Alva, Oklahoma. Her name's Lizette Gutierrez, and her first 7 or 6 appointments were all no sales. She even called. She wasn't going to make the 2-hour drive up to the office for advanced training. And I said, no, I promise everything's going to be fixed. We're going to teach you everything that you need to know during the advanced training 1. She came in. She didn't have an appointment that night because she had to drive back home, but she had one at 8 in the morning the very next day and sold a Homemaker Plus 8, hit her first promotion. How much belief and conviction do you have in the people if you can just get them to the next event that they're more likely going to stay on? Also, I would write down is if you don't get them to event, they're 50% more likely to quit. By the way, almost every single one of you on here, have you missed an event yet? Very rarely, no. And even if you have, well, you watched the recording and you had your manager follow up with you. That's the whole point, is we're here to help you. So are you following up with them? Are you making sure that they're getting to each and every one of these events? Just like the commercial talked about, and it goes over and over and says it like 3 different times. Well, you're the commercial. As they talk to you, hey, here, advanced training on what's going to happen. Promote, calling from demos on great deals. Use the 25-10 to seal the deal if they really need it. Now, moving into the incoming top rep. You don't want to oversell if they've made a big sell. You want to encourage them to say, cool, everybody does this, but just because you have a top rep, you can't treat them just like you're going to treat a low flyer. But every single person is important to our team. Every single person or every single sale matters. It doesn't matter what the sale is, as long as you sell something. And so encouraging every single one, it takes all of us to hit our goal. And just because they might be a little bit lower of a flyer does not mean, nope, am I back? You guys still hear me? Okay, cool. Just because they are low flyer doesn't mean that they're not important. I was a low flyer. I definitely wouldn't have been here if someone would have just talk to me as if I was, out there making ultimate sales every single time. And it's like, dude, why didn't you sell this? Why aren't you doing these? But very being encouraging throughout all of it. So if you're a top rep, and you know that they can sell Cutco, if they just walked in and cut the rope like they're selling an ultimate or homemaker, it's like, dude, everyone sells those. That's awesome. What's the next thing that you can do? Hey, this could be your first Cutco kitchen. This could be your first multiple orders in a set. Congratulate them and make them feel special for the sale, but don't oversell it and say, man, you're like the Cutco god because you sold an ultimate. It's like, dude, great. Now how many more ultimates can we sell this weekend? How can we get to that 3K promotion on what it is? If they're a low flyer and they do make a big sale, definitely overhype them. Like, you won the Super Bowl. Like, dude, this is like awesome. How does it feel? You're on level 10 energy with them, and really paint the picture of what this big sale does for them. And even on those small sales, if they've never learned or for the small sales, if number one, they should be hyping them up for those small sales, because every one of those add up to a big sale. And if they're selling something small now, when they get to advanced training, that's when they're going to be selling the bigger orders and the big deals and multiple sets in the demo. So just really digging in with each and every person. Again, it is building that relationship with them and knowing what everybody's hot buttons are. And so kind of jumping into the third thing of the first thing is the accountability and the outgoing. What's in it for them is what are those specific hot buttons for them. If it's a high flyer, well, more than likely it's going to be money. They need that. They want the money, or it's not the money, it's the experience. So how much more experience can that be? Maybe it's just they are number one in the competition for them. Maybe it's just that they are feeling proud of themselves and they're learning and growing for themselves. Whatever those hot buttons are you using that to your advantage for it? Reset PDI expectations if they're not calling you. I had one guy, Tevin McDaniels, my number one fast starter, and he would call right after the appointment. So like, cool, what am I at now? And it's like, cool, he already knew exactly what he needed to know exactly what levels those were to keep him on track to where he was going. So they're a high flyer and that's all they're going after. As soon as the demo's already over, are you pulling up Vector Connect and telling them, hey, you're already at 6,000 in sales? And it's like, perfect. How quickly can we get to that 10K mark? How quickly can we get to this next mark for it? Maybe it's just, hey, how is the team doing? And they want to know how the rest of the team is going on for it too. So it's like, dude, the team's on fire. We've already sold 3 homemakers. We've sold 2 piece orders over here. And just really letting them know about the entire team of what's going to happen on those too. I've kind of hit on some of these just because I'm bouncing around, but key questions, like it says, in areas to focus on to make sure that they're doing the demo the right way is, hey, what was your favorite food that you cut up on the presentation? Oh, you didn't? Awesome. Hey, no big deal. Would you like a couple of tips of how to make sure that you cut some food? And then you can give them some tips on saying, cool, ask Miss Jones if she said, and they're like, oh, never even thought of that. It's like, hey, no big deal. Now you know the experience for next time so that you're going to be able to do that. And quizzing them throughout all of it, just like Nick talks about through proctoring it after each section. And he said, cool, what was your biggest takeaway? Well, hey, do you remember how many types of food you're supposed to cut that we'd like to shoot for that you cut up on a demo? 5? Awesome. What do you think that they would be more interested in or have more focus if they cut 5 types of food, right? And just building that expectation for them and what they're doing with it too. A lot of times it's like, man, I couldn't follow the manual very well because I got lost out of the blue book and where it's at. And it's like, great. What is one thing that you feel like you could do differently to follow the manual and be able to do that? Are you open to one piece of advice? And just being very open and there for them so they feel like it's them versus you just pushing every single question onto them. I've had plenty of reps where, make sure that they do write it. They don't put it on the paper order form. Almost that never happens anymore because they put it right online. But always make sure they've always got one where it's like, oh yeah, they will promise to call me back tonight to write it up. It's like, no, it doesn't count till it's on Rollo. What can we do to get it on there right now with it too? I'm talking about it. Ask about the drop down. What was their favorite set throughout all of it? If it was a no sale, what was their most thing that they were interested in? Just like it's talking about, just connect, all about the effort and the performance. Hey, thank you so much for calling me in the middle of your presentation. That's one of the key things that I look for in a manager to help promote them and build them up onto what's happening. So all the little things that we ask for, are you congratulating and thanking them for all of those? Because we all know that there are reps that don't call in, and we're very aggravated that they don't call in on what they're doing. And so are you congratulating all the little actions that they're putting in, or just the results that they're doing? As we're going down is creating excitement. Again, hot news and team sales, other things that are happening from the training group. Just Cutco rocks. How easy is it to sell? How close they are to their next promotion. And also breaking it down. Hey, by the way, you sold a homemaker at 10%, you made $100. What would it be like if we just made 20%? You would have made $200 at this point. Now, just think when you're at 30%, how much you would have made in that exact same amount of time with less effort that you had to put forward. Are you painting the picture for them to understand, hey, this is the long term? It might be the delayed gratification. Hey, you're putting a lot of work in now and not getting a lot of results, but you're going to be putting in less work and getting more results when you're better at it with everything moving forward. So, hey, can you challenge them every single time? Hey, what's one thing that you want to, or challenging them to think bigger. Hey, by the way, you're thinking that they're just going to win, or you're thinking that they're just going to get a starter set. This could be your first homemaker. This could be your first Galley plus 6 set moving forward. And the final thing before the PDI call is over with is, are you creating the next action step? And what that is, hey, when's the next time you're getting on the phone? If it wasn't right before this or right after this or whatever it is, making sure that they're jumping onto it and having them follow up with it. Hey, when's the next time you're coming to the office? Hey, make sure you got advanced training in there, because we've got so many more valuable goods that's going to happen from that point. And no matter what, in the first weekend, you should have at least one 10-minute conversation with the rep. And write that down, one 10-minute conversation with them. That's how you know you're really building the value with every single person on there, because you can really connect on that 10-minute call. And that might be encouragement that it is. It might be that you're saving them because they're already wanting to quit. That might be that they're just wanting to talk to you because of how much energy you've brought to their life and what's happening for them. But are you creating that general connection with someone and helping them to improve not only their business, but their life on what's happening? And so I'll just end on this. And so remember, high quality questions equal high quality answers. So ask high quality questions on your first week of PDI. Megan.
Big round of applause for Bailey Hallman. Thank you very much. And really good stuff. I love reviewing that because you can sense the passion and the energy. I'm sure that Bailey also grew just by delivering that message and reminding himself of some of the fundamentals. So here's what I want to encourage you to do before I give you assignments and we wrap this up is understand that the best coaches still follow the playbook. The best coaches still follow the manual. Isn't it interesting how in the NFL, they're walking around with an iPad in front of them, constantly looking at the plays? They've memorized them. They know them by heart, but they still have them visual in front of them to look over. So my question to you is, no matter how long you've been with our company, no matter how long you've been working with us, are you still following the script? One of the best things I think all of the managers could do is take all these scripts, get them laminated on our discount, right, at Office Max or Office Depot or Staples, and then have a laminated copy that doesn't get lost, doesn't get bent, doesn't get, messed up, that you can just go to. And if you're a pacer and you like to walk, throw on some headphones. Instead of holding your phone up to your head, hold your script in front of your face and walk around and read these lines. How good of a coach are you choosing to be for your people? Right? And if you say it off the top of your head, well, right, that's something like just talking. If you say it from the heart, it comes with more passion, comes with more integrity, comes across more genuine, and they're more likely to actually do it, right? So again, just doing off the site, like doing it off of memory is off the head, reading it with passion from the heart. And if you can deliver that type of content and coaching, watch your reps trust you more, stick around longer, and watch them just completely think differently about the job. And ultimately, when I think about what PDI is, it's really influence, right? What is management? It's influence, influencing what they focus on, redirecting their thoughts, and getting them committed to actions. I always used to say that the rep who makes the most phone calls will always be the rep who makes the most money. Just like the office that books the most demos will always be the office with the biggest sales report. And by the way, why do we recruit? Because the more people we have on the team, the easier it is to do a lot of demos, right? That's the bottom line. But thinking and acting and performing in alignment with those expectations. So thank you to our speakers. Thank you to you guys for sharing your time with us. I hope that this was extremely valuable. For those of you watching the recording, great content on here. Don't forget to type up all or write up all your notes and send them to your manager and to me just to confirm that you've written and gone over this. And of course, our assignments. Assignment number 1 is you need to get a PC with your manager to cover your plan for Cabo. I don't care if you're going after Cabo or if you're motivated by Cabo or not. I care that you have a plan for the Cabo push, and I care about the effort that you're going to put in towards your goals, not what you actually finish at. But you got to know your goal breakdown. You got to know your schedule breakdown. And of course, if you're running an office, I expect you to have a time that you can come and watch me run training for the first 2 weeks of the next year. Number 2, sign up for your banquet, right? Do a visualization exercise, right? That's kind of one, or number 2 and 3, the visualization exercise from earlier. And of course, signing up for your banquet. Are you going to bring your guests? And just so you know, we're bringing everyone to your banquet. Like everyone's going, okay? Returning reps are going, parents are going. We're bringing all of our new reps. I want to remind you that I started, and 3 weeks later, I bought a $300 plane flight out to Texas and paid for a $300 event. So yeah, I made $2,000 and I threw $700 back into the job, right? Totally worth it, but you got to make it happen, right? So that's important. All right, number 3, sell your Olean homemaker. You have until Christmas to knock it out. Getting charged $750 is not an option. So get that done for those of you who went to Olean, and talk to me if you need help on figuring it out, but we got to get that done. Get your parent dinner booked. The sooner the better. And of course, the last one, if you've not put in a letter of commitment or letter of intent, I need those. You need those to take it to the next level for sure. So we'll finish right at 6:30. Thank you for your time. Great content, great material today. I am fired up about our next Leadership Academy that is happening in January, and I believe it's happening on January 9th. So that is a Thursday. That will be 1 week before we go to year-end banquet with the official promotions. Thank you for having your time with us today. An exciting 2019 wrap-up. This will be the last Leadership Academy and Division meeting of 2019, and I am so eager to see the growth and the exciting future that we have built for ourselves in the Great Plains Division for 20 and 20. So have a great night.